If we met at midnight in the hanging tree, are you coming to the tree where I told you to run so we both be free? Strange things that happen, we no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree? Are you coming to the tree where a necklace of hope side by side with me? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
I used to bite my tongue and hold my breath, scared to rock the boat and make a mess. So I said quietly, agreed politely. I guess that I forgot I had a choice. I let you push me past the breaking point. I stood for nothing, so I fell for everything. Held me down, but I got up. Already pushing off the dust. You hear my voice, you hear that sound. Like thunder gonna shake your throat. Held me down, but I got up. Get ready, 'cause if I get enough, I see it all, see it now. I got the eye of the tiger, the fire, dancing through the fire. 'Cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar louder, louder than a lion. 'Cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar. You're gonna hear me roar. Now floating like a butterfly, singing like a bee at 30 times. I went from zero to my own hero. You held me down, but I got up. Already pushing off the dust. You hear my voice, you hear that sound. Like thunder gonna shake the ground. You held me down, but I got up. Get ready, 'cause if I get enough, I see it all, I see it now. I got the eye of the tiger, the fire, dancing through the fire. 'Cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar louder, louder than a lion. 'Cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar. You're gonna hear me roar. You're gonna hear me roar. I got the eye of the tiger.
Who are these 26?
There's Millie, she's a brown girl.
Millie there.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Before I begin my review, obviously we've got the sad news that there has been an attack in Hillingdon late yesterday evening. I wasn't around. I was doing other things, and I've only just seen it this morning, and it's quite deeply shocking and upsetting. So I do want to sort of just pay a sort of like tribute to those victims and that, because even though there hasn't been any fatalities, it does seem that some of the people suffered serious injuries that are life-threatening, and it's terrible. We all knew it was going to happen. We all knew that there was likely. I do not understand our government. I do not understand them. You know, they told us there was going to be a war on terror. They told us that, you know, we'll have the terrorists, and then what did they do? Turn around and say everything was we need terrorist thresholds, and now we've got attacks on trains, and we don't even know if it's terrorist. You know, even if it turns out to be somebody that's got some messed up mental mindset, again, that's down to government policies. If it turns out to be somebody that's just a racist, again, that's down to government policies. This government has failed us. So I just want to play a quick tune for them as well before we start the review. So.
Another day has gone, I'm still all alone. How could this be? You're not here with me. You never said goodbye. Someone tell me why did you have to go and leave my world so cold? Every day I see it as myself. How did I say? Something whispers in my ear and says, you're not alone. I am here with you. Though you're far away, I am here to stay. You're not alone. I am here with you. Though you're far apart, you're always in my heart. You're not alone. Lord, why, Lord? Just the other night, I thought I heard you cry, asking me to come and hold you in my arms. I can hear your prayers, your burdens I will bear. First I need your hand, then forever can begin. Every day I see it as myself. How did I say? Something whispers in my ear and says, you're not alone. I am here with you. Though you're far away, I am here to stay. You're not alone. I am here with you. Though we're far apart.
Or what's going on with
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday. Where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it?
And you're all
Because
having your
dad's
little
name
digs
was
at
Danny,
Kylie, ain't ya?
isn't it?
And don't get me wrong, we've all had a
That's
little
why
dig
you're
at
obsessed
Kylie,
with Danny.
unfortunately. Sorry, Kylie.
Anyway,
It is true. Everyone's had a row with you.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah.
Until they actually understand
yeah,
what
but
she's fucking saying.
Let me keep the
It
smoke
took
for
me a
later.
while with Kaylee. Took me a while, I'm not going to lie.
with my children? She's
But that's probably because of the duress that you cunts all put her under.
Go to my dead dad and kids.
That's right, the propagandists.
Who are these 20 special
There's
children?
Millie. She's a brown girl.
Millie who?
Not on any of us. And you're all having your little digs at Kaylee, ain't ya? And don't get me wrong, we've all had a little dig at Kaylee, unfortunately. Sorry, Kaylee. It is true. Everyone's had a row with you. Until they actually understand what she's fucking saying. It took me a while with Kaylee. Took me a while, I'm not going to lie. But that's probably because of the duress that you cunts all put her under. That's right, the propagandists. Because they'd started on her a good fucking couple of years before they started on any of us. You see, A1000, because A1000 was over there on her own, it was a lot easier for me to decipher that she had something that she wanted to get out, that something had happened and that she needed to get it out. I could understand it with A1000. I could take my time, just listen, because there wasn't that much interference. But you see, with Kaylee, there was so much interference around her, wasn't there? You bastards. Should be ashamed of yourself what you did to that woman as well. Another woman you wanted to destroy, didn't you? You propagandists. Meanwhile, you got all the little hangers on and isn't it funny? Isn't it funny, eh? Let's pick on another woman. Just don't pick on me, because I know that I'm ugly.
Future teaches you to be alone. The present to be afraid and cold. So if I get you rabbits, then I get you fashion. Few words that I'll come running. And girl, you know that I'll be there. I'll be there. You are not alone. I am here with you. Though you're far away, I am here to stay. You are not alone. I am here with you. Though we're far apart, you're always in my heart. You are not alone. You are not alone. I am here with you. I am here with you. Though you're far away, I am here to stay. You are not alone. In my heart, I am here with you. Though we're far apart, you're always in my heart. You are not alone. Not alone. No, you are not alone. Say it again. You're not alone. You are not alone. Not alone. Not alone. You just reach out to me, girl. In the morning, in the evening. Not alone. Not alone. You and me. Not alone. Together. Together.
Morning, everyone. Now, I know people might think that was an odd song choice, but for me, I'm a person who's very deep. A lot stronger than people think I am. I'm not as weak as some would like to think. And when I love, I give my whole heart. Yeah, and I love my country. I love other British citizens. I love my husband and I love my family. And for them, I will always stand with them. And they're not alone. Those people might feel in Huntingdon that they are alone right now. They're not alone. I am hearing that some people are thinking of mobilising and doing a show of force at Huntingdon. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I'll have to wait to see how that progresses. And if it does, I will let people know. I'm not sure that that's the right response. I don't really know what the right response is anymore. But I do think those people on that train, whatever they were travelling for, didn't deserve what happened to them. And our government is shameful. It's really shameful, because this is everything that people on the right have been speaking about for years, worrying at the increased levels and threats to our families and loved ones, the way society has collapsed. And it's sad. It really is sad. This could have been avoided. You know, the identity politics that they pushed, all the woke shit that they pushed, you know, dividing people, putting them into groups, labeling them, when we already had a society that no longer cared about people, whether they were gay or not. We had a society where people understood that 0.01% of the population might want a transgender, and if they did it with their own money, not on the national health, no one had a problem. But no, they decided to push it in schools. Yeah. They've decided to force it on people. They decided that pride events were still necessary, where men went down high streets with all of their bollocks hanging out. I'm sorry for my crudeness, but it's true. Lewd displays that we didn't need to have. The tolerance was already there. We once had a society where people had respect for each other. People considered each other. People will be able to be nuanced. They'd be able to weigh up risks because the majority of the population were educated. Now we've got thousands and thousands and thousands of strong young men coming into this country with lower IQs than the rest of us because they don't have education or a lack of education, or, sad to say, because of cousin marriage. Coming into this country who do not have comprehension levels. Some have even seen real bad trauma. Some have been involved in murdering and pillaging and raping. But apparently our government thought it was best to unload them onto Britain. All to put themselves in a position of power, and all for greed. They're not righteous. They didn't think about the kids. They didn't think about the women. They didn't think about our economy. They didn't think about our infrastructure. You know. Oh, I definitely think that we're at a stage where we need to arm ourselves, especially in our homes. Oh, definitely. A renegade hardware. Definitely. I think we all need to be doing something. It's disgusting. You know. And I don't agree with, but I understand the passion with people who say, well, let's take the fight to them. I do understand that passion. And let's do actual armed combat. Let's have a civil war, but that won't solve the problem. That's just more violence. Our government won't care. No. Things have to be strategic. But what those strategies are, I haven't a clue. I haven't a clue. I do think, though, the people and brighter minds than me that are probably in positions of power within their company, I do understand that passion. And let's do actual armed combat. Let's have a civil war, but that won't solve the problem. That's just more violence. Our government won't care. No. Things have to be strategic. But what those strategies are, I haven't a clue. I haven't a clue. I do think, though, the people and brighter minds than me that are probably in positions of power within their companies and stuff should start thinking about contingency plans and putting contingency plans out there that we ourselves can follow in everyday walks of life. Emergency signals. Maybe vigilantes. I do think that we need to start getting organised because it don't look like the authorities are going to do anything. But all of this talk is not going to help those people that were stabbed on the train right now. And that's why my prayers go out to them. We can get through this, though, and we will get through this. I know I'm not the only strong, resilient, English, British citizen out there. I know there are many like me that have faced trials and tribulations in their life and are still strong. There's still many strong women. There's still many strong men. And I still have my faith and hope. But we can't just rely on faith and hope. We do need some strategies, but ones that will work. As Danny Roscoe said, if you haven't seen his video, you know, striking isn't the answer. And I might play that a bit later. In fact, I could play it now, actually. Let me get Danny Roscoe, what Danny Roscoe said. It was only a short one before we go to looking at Paul Thorpe and AY, which was a little glint of hope in the midst of darkness, because these people, like AY, they're strong people. Be strong. So let's see if I can get it. Because there has been talk about having a strike, but that won't work. And if you strike for a week, there are some people in this country who are living hand to mouth, you know. And most people will probably end up starving for a week. How is that going to help anyone? So let's have a look at this.
It doesn't repeat, it just reloads. You see, back in 1926, Britain stopped, froze, and the air went thick with smoke and tension. They called it the General Strike. 9 days that shook the country. Ordinary men had said enough. The government, well, they called it chaos. And here we are again, nearly 100 years later, and we're hearing the same old whispers. Maybe it's time we just shut it all down, Dan. But before anyone starts cheering that idea, we need to ask what really happened last time, and what would happen if it really kicked off again in 2025. So let's rewind. 1926, Britain's on the ropes. The coal industry is collapsing. Wages are being slashed, hours are going up, and the miners, they refuse to bend. And the Trade Union Congress, yes, the Marxist TUC, told the rest of the workforce to stand with them. 2 million men and women walked out. Trains, steel, printing presses, buses, all dead quiet. And for a few days, it looked like they might bring the whole country to its knees. But the government had already built its defence. Troops were on standby. Food had been stockpiled. Propaganda was ready. They even printed their own paper. They called it the British Gazette, and they did that just to control the story. And by day 9, the strike was done. Not because the people were wrong, but because the system was ready and the unions weren't. That's the real lesson of 1926. Emotion without organisation gets crushed. Now let's jump to today. It's a different world, but the same power game. The economy is not coal and steel anymore. It's data, it's coding, it's logistics. Half the country works for private contractors. We've got people in Amazon vans doing 0-hour contracts. We've got self-employed builders, gig economy workers everywhere. You can't just flip one switch and stop the machine. And even if you could, the government's got emergency plans lined up. Army engineers, imported labour, AI rerouting supplies before a protest even starts. And you're going to see the headlines. Far-right extremists disrupt services. It's the same narrative trick. It's just new technology. And that's what makes the dream of a national strike so fragile. Because sadly, you can't beat a digital system with 1920 tactics. So let's picture it. Manual workers, the backbone of this country, down in tools at the same time. What's going to happen? Day 1, it will be shock. The supermarkets forced to stand with them. 2 million men and women walked out. Trains, steel, printing presses, buses, all dead quiet. And for a few days, it looked like they might bring the whole country to its knees. But the government had already built its defence. Troops were on standby. Food had been stockpiled. Propaganda was ready. They even printed their own paper. They called it the British Gazette. And they did that just to control the story. And by day 9, the strike was done. Not because the people were wrong, but because the system was ready and the unions weren't. That's the real lesson of 1926. Emotion without organisation gets crushed. Now let's jump to today. It's a different world, but the same power game. The economy is not coal and steel anymore. It's data, it's coding, it's logistics. Half the country works for private contractors. We've got people in Amazon vans doing 0-hour contracts. We've got self-employed builders, gig economy workers everywhere. You can't just flip one switch and stop the machine. And even if you could, the government's got emergency plans lined up. Army engineers, imported labour, AI rerouting supplies before a protest even starts. And you're going to see the headlines. Far-right extremists disrupt services. It's the same narrative trick. It's just new technology. And that's what makes the dream of a national strike so fragile. Because sadly, you can't beat a digital system with 1920 tactics. So let's picture it. Manual workers, the backbone of this country, down in tools at the same time. What's going to happen? Day 1, it will be shock. The supermarkets will be half stocked. The deliveries will be missing. Everyone will be talking about it online. Day 2, the government steps in straight away, declares a state of emergency. They bring in temps and soldiers and they call it keeping the peace. Day 3, the media spin it. Right-wing unrest. Chaos in the streets. And by day 4, the same people who agreed with you at the start are now saying, why are they doing this? This is hurting us. They have to stop. And that's how fast the story turns. Not because people don't care, but because chaos confuses everyone. And when people are confused, they cling to authority. That's just how it is. That's how the establishment wins every single time. Look, I get it. I get the frustration. Right now, Britain is broken. Wages are down. Bills are going up. We've got politicians either trying to install tyranny onto us or they're asleep at the wheel. But a national strike in 2025 isn't the weapon that people think it is. The left, the Marxists, the communists, the Islamists, they all feed off the chaos. The bureaucrats, they expand their control through it. And we don't need another shutdown. If anything, we need to stand up. We need organisation. We need organisation, not outrage. Order, not anarchy. Because the minute we lose order, the same elites we're fighting, they sweep in with more laws, more censorship, and definitely more control. And suddenly, this revolt that's happening becomes their excuse for another clampdown. We've seen it with Just Stop Oil. We've seen it with insulating Britain. People. It's simple, but it's also hard. It's discipline. Workers have power, real power, but it's in how we organise, and it's not how we rage. It's building networks that can't be censored. It's voting smart, backing local business, going to local council meetings, listening to local voices that represent us. If 1926 was about striking, 2025 has got to be about strategy. The fight is not in the streets, it's in the systems that control them. Because when you understand how the machine works, you don't have to break it, you just have to take the control. A century ago, the workers of Britain learned the hard way that chaos feeds people at the top. Today, we have to know better, we have to understand it. Real patriotism isn't shutting Britain down, it's making sure that she stands strong, and that's how we win, through strength, through unity and clear thinking. Anyway, if you found this breakdown helpful, give it a like, drop a comment, or share it with someone who still believes that chaos equals change. And before you...
So there you have it. Wise words again from Danny Roscoe, and it's always wise words from Danny Roscoe. So let's just go back on some of the things that he said there. He said that we have to have networking. Well, there is a good group of us that have been working on that for a while. It's what Tommy Robinson's been promoting with the auditors and other people that actually, you know, the alternative journalism completely, not just the auditors, the alternative journalism completely. But like-minded people, and if we're on the same side, you know, people that are decent need to stand together. And that is what has been happening in recent weeks, networking. And that's what needs to still continue. Discipline. People need to stop having knee-jerk reactions. I know it's hard. I know that people are going to get angry and emotive. But we need to be thinking strategically, because what the government wants more than anything now is the power to take away literally all our rights and put a lockdown in place and bring in martial law. We don't want that. We don't want our freedoms taken away. No. That would be like just submitting completely. That's what they want. They want to push people to the point where they think, fuck this life, I'm not safe. You know, just I'll take a fucking lesser life, quality of life, just to be alive. That's not living. That's surviving. No. We want to be able to survive in our country, but we want to be able to live in our country. Yeah. British people are not going to back down to fear. Yeah. One thing that I've learned through these silly little channels is just face your fears head on. Yeah. Where there's a will, there's a way. We are strong people. And the strong people, the ones that have got true strength, not weaklings that want to attack each other every 5 minutes, you know, not the flat packers or the nonsense makers or the people that hype themselves up to make themselves look big when they're really little pussy holes. No, I'm not talking about them kind of people. I'm talking about people that have strength, that have a willpower, that are intelligent, that can actually think of contingency plans. Yeah. And I would say, I would put this out to people that are on the right, in good jobs, that don't really want to stand on platforms and voice anything out. You are the people that we need. What you can do, and you can do it pretty well, is take yourself off to local council meetings. Do what the others did. Be duplicitous. Even pretend that you go along with their wokeness if you need to. Get yourselves into positions of power and change the situation. Once you're in power, you can change. And that starts off from small power to big power. Those of you that have not been around on platforms, people don't know your faces, you're in good jobs, but you can see the problems. You are the people that we also need. And that's what we need you to do. As well as the ones that are very vocal, that can get themselves into positions of power. That's what we need to do. Because this is going to be a long, hard fight to get our country stable again. As everybody knows, it's hard to build something that's so easy to demolish. And it's building that we need to start doing. And on that note, I want to say that because we are building networks, people that have got small issues with individuals and personalities, and I've done it myself, we need to step those things aside. If we're all fighting on the same side, those small differences don't matter anymore. We stand together. You know, every little helps. Pass information to each other, make sure everybody is aware who's who, and start protecting each other. But that starts with your home. So while lefties go around attacking people on the right that are more orderly and decent and understand the full implications of what is going on, whilst they go around attacking personalities, attacking their families, we ignore them. There's a much bigger fight. Ignore them. Ignore the inconsequential little idiots, the people that think it's personalities that are the issue, when we all know it's the policies of this government and successive governments. We all know the establishment has let us down. And now's the time for people to stand together. I agree with you. The dark entities thrive on our fears. I agree with that 100%. So, for all those inconsequential people, kindly fuck off. Go and sit on your panels gossiping and talking about people and your endless petty point scoring. It doesn't touch me and it doesn't touch others. The rest of us, we're going to get on. We're trying to be resilient because we are resilient. We're going to stand together. And hopefully we're all going to get through this. Because there'll be a time for recriminations. But that time is not now. And you're right, AEIOU. I always put the I in there, don't I? All eyes on you. That massive stubbing incident looks awful. It does look awful. It's terrible. I can't think of anything worse than being trapped in something where there's no escape. Yeah. I read a story on X today, Ollie something or other. He said that he was on the train and he broke down what he says happened. He said he only saw one offender and that offender was black. And he said that there was sort of like screams for people to run because they'd been stabbed, and people all tried to get out the carriage and they all ran in the same direction and all ended up because they realised that it was a short carriage train. It wasn't a long carriage train. And they all ended up in one carriage. And he said, unfortunately, he was in the back end of the people getting into that carriage. So he was by the doors. And if the perpetrator had come, he would have had to come through that door. And he said he see people covered in blood and stuff. He said, and everyone was frantically searching for something that they could use as weapons. He said there was one bloke there that had a whiskey bottle and he had that ready. But he himself had nothing. He said, and you could feel the palpitation. You could feel the tension in the air and the panic because everybody knew that, you know, this is awful. He said, and what felt like a long time, 10 minutes, they were waiting with their hearts beating and everything. And then the train stopped and they managed to get off. He said, and then when he got off, he see people covered in blood and he saw somebody holding his stomach, screaming for help because with blood gushing out of his stomach because he'd been stabbed in the stomach. He said, but the police were there. They were quick. And they got onto the train. He said, and then, you know, he didn't see any more after that. But I can't imagine anything more terrifying than that. Well, I can, to be fair. Because we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen just as equally terrifying stuff. People walking their dogs, getting raped. People walking their dogs, getting murdered. We've seen little girls going to dance classes. That's just as terrifying. Our way of life has changed in this country. And we know who is to blame. Our governments and the people that are coming in who don't appreciate our country. Sad. Anyway, I am going to move on. I'm going to do the AY and Paul Forbes interview. I know it seems like I'm dismissing the other stuff. It's not that. It's just that there's bound to be further information, and I think we should be patient and wait for that further information to come out. so we know exactly what we're talking about when we talk about it. Yeah, I'm up early today. I had lots of things to do, and I'm going to do the review of that, and then I shall leave it. I may be back this afternoon or this evening to do a longer stream. But for now, I just wanted to review the AY stuff. So here we go. Let me get the picture up. Hi, Celine TM1. Long time no see.
So, guys, I am down here by the beach in Benidorm, and I've got a familiar face that you might just recognise with me. It is.
Hello, guys.
Evening, AY. How you doing, brother? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, buddy. Yourself?
I'm all good, mate. Thank you very much. So, right, just to be honest, we've already done this once, and some.
Look at AY there. Doesn't he look happy, relaxed? You can tell he's enjoying his holiday, and he deserves it. Him and his wife, they definitely deserve that breakaway. So I'm well happy for AY. Let's carry on.
Look, forgot to press record, so here we go. Right, so first of all, tell us what you're doing in Benidorm.
So, I come here 2-3 times a year. Same hotel, stay at the same place, go to the same places. But I like it here. You know,
It's good fun, isn't it?
It's nice, and the strip is obviously up that way. Old Town is down there, so I'm kind of in the middle. And
I saw you putting yourself about down there the other night live. I thought, hello, here he goes. AY's here. Look, he's down there giving it. Look, mate, I don't know how you get away with it, to be honest with you, half the time. I mean, he's a bit of a lump of a man, so that probably helps. But yeah, that's another police car. They're everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah.
They don't mess about.
No. And that's full up as well.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, I respect them. They're good at what they do here.
Well, if you look, I see them stop the people with the scooters yesterday, and no helmets, and they had them, and that was just, you look at that, it's like petty stuff.
Yeah. Do you know what I like?
Yeah.
Every school, in the morning and at the end of school, they're there. Armed police, seeing all the kids in the school, seeing them out. I think it's lovely. You know?
Yeah.
But right, so let's sort of start off where we kind of left off. The question I was asking you before I realised I hadn't pressed record was, have you been in a situation where you thought, shit, I'm in trouble here? Because the places that you go, the people you put yourself in front of, all you guys, all your audience, I think you do a great job, because you're bringing people news that they otherwise wouldn't get. But that comes with a danger. That comes at a price potentially for you guys. Have you been in a position where you thought, shit?
Not so much like shit, but because I feel capable that I can look after myself if needed to, like as long as there wasn't too many. And I think the worst thing was a cup of coffee chucked or something like this. And I'm not downplaying it or anything, but like what you said a second ago, it's the ones that are standing back. You see them in their face. Like I call it the death net, and they're the ones to worry about. You know what I mean? Not the ones that are there shouting. Yeah, not the ones that are there shouting and stuff like that. There, more so the ones that are.
Do you fear that somewhere down the line, not just yourself, to all the audiences, do you fear that you guys are in danger? Do you think that there's a real present sort of danger, a clear danger to you guys?
I don't think. I think probably from the government. Yeah, and probably from like, I'm not going to start sitting here saying from a high level government people, but they'll definitely be looking at us because we're showing too many truths. And these are not just isolated incidents. You've got auditors up and down the country, for Christ's sake, that are visiting hotels, etc., and they're showing stuff. You had one the other day that was exposing himself. So you've got crime coming out of these hotels left, right, and centre.
The interesting one is, mate, when was the last time you went abroad?
Well, I went to Ireland, if you count that,
Right, when was that?
Last week. I went to City West when they had their protest.
I'm just wondering, when you go back to the UK, if they will give you a tug. Are you flying back to Gatwick or Heathrow? Stansted, right, okay. I don't know. Every time I go back now, they pull me, they're having made Danny the anti-terror mob had in, So I'm just wondering if they might have a word with you on the way back. This is how crazy it's got. Just like you said there.
Paul Thorpe is funny, right? I used to get angry about him, right? But over the months, I've sort of like softened a little bit. I still don't like the fact that he went off to Spain and, he said the things that he said when Tommy Robinson was in prison. But I guess all of us have got different levels of fear factor. And I think that, maybe he was genuinely worried for him and his family. And I do preach that everybody should protect their family first. And if that's what he was really doing, then, well, I can't knock him for that, can I? But he is funny because... he is funny because no matter who he speaks to, he speaks about the airport. So he must be really, really concerned. I mean, he says every time he comes in, he gets a tug now, but he's never come back since Danny got tugged, has he? As far as I know. As far as I know, it was Danny who got tugged, and he's just worried that he's going to get tugged. I don't know. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier, there are bigger things to be worrying about than personality clashes. And would I stand with this man to fight for people if he was here? Yeah, I would. But he's not. He's in Spain. So for me, I think his relevance is just getting AY out to the wider audience. And I think that's a good thing for AY. But it's a good thing for networking as well, because we do know that Paul Falk gets on with Tommy Robinson and stuff. So, yeah, it's a good thing. AY is one of these people that I call a brilliant networker. He's a people person. Yeah, he's real.
Funny point. I don't actually fear the bad guys, right? Bad guys are bad guys. To be honest with you, fuck them, right? But I do fear the authorities. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here and not bloody at home. But at the end of the day, it's got to the point now in the UK where I think everyone is starting to see past all that now. We know that we've got to stand up. We've got to keep telling the truth. We've got to keep exposing these people. Because
yeah, people in Britain have got to that point. Not people like Paul, because Paul's obviously gone to Spain. So, you know, he says that he's scared of the authorities. I think there's a lot of people that are scared of the authorities. You know, there is a lot of people that are scared of the authorities. Some people have got a lot to lose. They want to look after their children. They want to look after their families. They want to make sure that they're all safe, you know. And but at the same time, Paul Falk does have a role to play. He does have a role to play in all this, because he's very articulate. He's got a channel that's very popular. He gets out to a wider audience. He sympathises. He empathises. And I think that he's one of the few people that is, does think strategically. Not always wisely, but strategically. And, you know, that's what we need right now. We need strategic people that are going to think outside of the box and try to network to find ways to make sure that people get through this, as many people as possible. It's a sad state of affairs that British people need to look at our world through the spectrum of, we need to survive this catastrophe until we can make it better.
as bad as it was 6-8 months ago, it's got so much worse, isn't it? It's getting worse and worse every week, it seems.
I mean, look, we had a case, well, you're probably up to date with it as well, the sex offender from Epping. Let him out of jail early. What sort of nonsense is this? Yeah. You know, like you sit there.
And then give him 500 quid to go in when they catch him. You know,
but that's what they tell us, 500 quid. They actually give him up to, I think it's like 3.5k. You know, but they're probably not going to tell us they're giving 3.5k because it calls uproar. Yeah. Or they're giving us 70 quid extra discharge grant for his little day out. You know, but mate,
the whole thing's crazy, isn't it?
It's getting worse. Yeah, it's getting worse. You've got to look at Hillingdon, for the poor bloke in Hillingdon, for Christ's sake. You know, man's out walking his dog, for fuck's sake. Yeah, like...
The other bloke in the bank.
Yeah, the other bloke in the bank.
Terrible, yeah.
Mate, these are not, and I've been saying for a long while, these are not isolated incidents. When I argue with these lefties, and I'm saying to them, like, mate, these are not isolated incidents. You've got them up and down the country. And I don't want to downplay these serious crimes, but what about the shoplifting?
Yeah.
What about the burglaries? What about the antisocial behaviour?
The stuff that used to count.
The stuff that used to count. You know, like if somebody like robbed your car years ago, you'd have a policeman at the door taking a statement. We ain't got none of that no more. None of, like, they don't care about that.
Where do you think this is? Where do you think this is leading? Because I mean, just recently, there's been a lot of talk, probably too much in many respects, but there's a lot of talk of civil war and mass civil disorder, etc. I mean, what's your take on that?
I mean, I think it's nonsense. Yeah, we're not going to get nowhere by doing things with violence. Yeah. You know, like change needs to come from within, really, like so to speak. And we've had successive governments for my lifetime anyway. And since I've been alive. And probably what most people say the same. It's just deteriorating and deteriorating.
Basically.
Really and truthfully, like, it's like, we don't care. Like,
and I totally agree with AY there. He's a brilliant representative for the way the working class feel. You know, because he's saying, you know, the violence isn't the answer. It isn't the answer. We should only be getting violent in self-defense, which is why I do say that people do need to arm themselves in their own homes and make sure that they've got security and stuff like that. And when you go out, be prepared to protect yourself. Be vigilant. You know. But the fact of the matter is, do not go on the attack. That is what they want. And unfortunately, we have got people, and I understand it. I totally understand the people, the men of this country who are getting so angry that they just want to go out and deal with it once and for all. But some of those men won't end up coming back. And that's not what we want. That's not what we want. And whilst I respect that there are people out there that are willing and ready and say, right, I am ready to go and actually fight. I respect those people. I'm not angry with those people that say that they're ready to go fight physically. I respect them, but it would be the wrong move. It's the wrong move right now. It really is.
We are second-class citizens, like citizens, asylum seekers. They have more rights than us, for Christ's sake. How can that be possible? You know, like.
Well, you wouldn't have believed it back in the 70s, 80s when I was growing up. I mean, if you was to have told me this story back in the 70s or the 80s or even the early 90s, I'd have just laughed in your face and said, dream on. You know, it's never going to happen. But, I mean, the worry is, if we're where we are now, today, where are we going to be in another 10 years? Because this is gathering pace, momentum that is picking up every single week, every single month, as every single year goes by, things are just getting worse and worse and worse. The honest answer is, I don't know where it's going to end. People often say to me, where do you think it's going to end? Is it going to be a civil war? Is it going to be mass civil disturbance? Well, actually, I tend to agree with you in that respect. I would say that I don't think the British people understand what mass civil disturbance would look like.
Yeah.
And it would not be pretty.
No, that's for sure.
It would not be pretty. And I also respect the fact that there are people out there now looking at the screen, shouting at me and you, probably going, oh, well, we've run out of ideas. What else are we going to do? They're not listening. And I get that too. I really do. Because when you can't comply your way out of this shit, what are you left with?
The only way, it's a very good answer, it's a very good question, you know, and people sit there and that's how they think. But you can't give up hope, you know, like you just can't give up hope. And people will turn around and say, oh, it's very easy, yeah, like they're sitting here talking on the beach. It's easy for these guys, do you know what I mean? But
I know you haven't been around for a long time, Silentinium, right? But we know that Keir Starmer's a communist. Over here on my channel, we're well aware of the Fabian Society. We're well aware of the influence. We understand how the DEI was an avenue for people to get themselves into positions of power to try and caliphate. We understand the Islamic threat over here. We understand all of it. But people, the only way to solve this issue so that we can minimize the damage is to make sure that we're strategic. What I would say to people, especially those people that are ready to take up arms, right? Be mindful of when things happen to people around you. Be prepared to assist and help. Do you know the interesting thing that happened on that train? I'll tell you an interesting thing that happened on that train. There wasn't much footage from inside the train because instead of filming it and watching each other's grief, there was, I mean, there's probably going to be some footage that comes out at some time. But for the most part, people didn't have time to take their phones out. They didn't, they were more worried about standing together and surviving. And I think that's what we need more of, people being willing to stand together. JB, there are people out there that want to take up arms, believe it or not. There's lots that are talking right now saying they're ready for action. But I think that will be a wrong move. And that's only my opinion. And I'm not telling other people what to do. You know, what will be, will be. That's only my opinion. You know, I wouldn't want to watch the footage either, Silentium, if any comes out. But apparently, from the eyewitness's account, someone said, where's all the footage? And one eyewitness said, well, number one, there wasn't time. But number two, people weren't thinking of that. They were thinking of self-preservation and looking after each other. And I think that's commendable. I can't imagine the horror it must have felt to be in those carriages. Seriously. As Adam says, I don't think everyone was standing together. There was people trampling over each other to get away. Well, that's terrible. And this is what I'm saying about contingency plans. I really do think now that we need to start strategizing. If a terrorist attack happens, you know, people taking order, people standing up and saying, right, let's get out, one by one, get down here, women and children over there, this, that, and the other. People who are strong and assertive need to have contingency plans. Yeah. So if you're sitting on a bus, if you're sitting on a train, if you're in the middle of the high street, if you're in the park, and one of these incidents occurs, that people collect together. You know, like we used to have a system where if you was on a plane, an emergency happens, you say, is anyone a doctor? Well, I think it should get to the situation now where, you know, it'll be anyone who's got weapons up front, all women and children down back in this kind of situation, for example. People taking a bit of control, other people telling people to calm down, you know. And if that's anything that I want people to get from this video is that we need not to be so hysterical, which I understand is hard. I understand it's hard to tell people not to panic when it's a panic situation, fight or flight. Yeah. But people have got to learn to become resilient because it's going to get worse than this, in my opinion. Our government are doing fuck all. Our government are literally doing fuck all. And there has been talk that people should call it a national emergency now, the situation in Britain. I can understand why. But what happens when they call a national emergency? Are we going to have the army on the streets? Are we going to be having lockdowns? Because that's what I don't want. That's a good idea. 2 socks, one in the other, and a stress pebble, size of a golf ball will do. Legal and not a weapon until it's in the sock. It lets you strike while being away from sharp, pointy sticks. So that's a good idea. So people, take a pair of socks with you when you travel and a pebble in the other pocket. Do not put them together unless you need it, and then you've got a weapon. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. Even stockings. You know? Yeah, we don't really have an army. It's already getting smaller and smaller as we speak, and even a lot of them are DEI, so they're not exactly going to be assisting people, are they? They've already been through woke politics, brainwashed into believing that they're oppressed and all white people hate them and that ordinary British people don't like them. And, you know, and then you've got the other factor that the army don't even feel respected anymore by the majority of the country. It's just a shame. It's just a shame, everything that's going on. But let's get back to the discussion.
At the end of the day, like, people just need not to give up hope and just carry on. Peaceful protest was working. Yeah, like look at the summer that we had. I know we had a little bit of disorder and people say about Epping it was a riot. It wasn't a riot at all, mate. You had a police car that got a wing mirror taken off and a number.
Exactly, it wasn't a riot, and it makes me laugh to think that the police think that was a riot, because if there is riots and there is proper disorder, I don't think people really understand the severity of it now. You know?
Like taken off of it. That was the worst bit of disorder. Do you know, that's not a riot. No shops were smashed.
If you want to see a riot, go back to the 1970s in Northern Ireland. They were riots, right? And trust me, you don't want them on the streets.
Exactly, yeah. Like there was a little angry people. You had these lefties come and wind it all up. But look, I had a good summer.
What is wrong with them, by the way?
Listen, I said it earlier on, yeah, and I say it, and I just think the anarchists, yeah, I think they just love to argue. If we're sitting here now when it's dark, you could have a lefty here, pay him 40 quid, and he's going to argue that it's daylight. Even though we can quite clearly see, because anybody in their right mind can quite clearly see, yeah, that the country has gone downhill. And if you
and again, another brilliant point from Abi. Part of the problem is the left, but maybe some of the left will wake up now after this has happened on the train. You know, maybe some of them will wake up and see that the right have been talking sense all along. This is only the beginnings, in my opinion.
I not see that, then, well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch him. I've got to be honest with you, mate. I'll sit and watch him sometimes, and I think the only conclusion I can come to is either they're deliberately winding people up, or they're genuinely not well in the head. Like they're genuinely bonkers.
Well, yeah, well, that's exactly what I say, really, to be honest with you. You know, like you're doing it just because you're an argumentative and an antagonistic person. Or, like what you say, yeah, you're not mentally well. And I actually questioned them up in Hull one day. It was in Hull, and there was like maybe a group of 10 or something. And I said to them, like, have you not been passed in from the old people's home or something, like, you know, because you've all grouped together, you've all had a back, and you're not, some of them, I didn't mean to be horrible, because I'm being respectful to everybody, but one of them was in a wheelchair, like, didn't look very well, do you know what I mean, bless her, and I just thought to myself, something didn't look right, and I said, like, have you like, actually like been bussed in from the local nursing home or something, like a day out or something, and that was the vibe that I got.
In general, though, you can't debate with them, you can't engage with them, can you? They won't engage.
No, because as soon as you start to, as soon as you ask the telling question, they want to ask you the questions and give you the answer. As soon as you want to ask your question, they don't really want to know. I've had a few of them openly admit on camera, and I've been saying to them, look, how can you disagree that immigration has not been a detriment on our society? It has. You know, you can't disagree with this. You know, whether you're left or you're right, you can't be that stupid not to see this. You know, like, and some of them have actually turned around and said, no, you are right. But
I think the biggest conundrum for me is this unholy alliance of the loony left, the communists, the Islamists, and the transgender mob.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you square that circle? I mean, it's just completely. Do these people not realise that if they ever get power, they're the first ones on their hit list?
I know.
It is bonkers.
It's delusional. Like, I even said this to these people.
Well, I think they're going to wake up. I mean, I don't know if other people have seen it. I've seen some footage on X where a group of people ended up fighting. I do believe that one of them was auditors, actually. Ended up fighting with trans people, but Muslim people that were immigrants jumped in and they took over the fight, which is rather bizarre. What I also did notice in the footage that was actually recorded was that DJE Media, Curtis Arnold, he was well excited to see people getting bashed to fuck. But at the end of the day, that's not our fight. It's not our fight. If the trans want to start arguing with people and attacking people and then they get beat up, you know, how can we help these people when they start the fighting? It's mental. What did they expect? They attacked an auditor. But it was sad to see people all bloodied and bruised. You know. Victor Meldrew says, I do not like fault. The very last day before he left to Spain, he was saying, rally the troops, I'm going nowhere. Day later, he fucked off. Look, I agree with you. I've got my reservations about a man who sits in Spain and tells people in Britain what to do. But I do think that he has a large following. And so there's a lot of people that do respect him. And there's a lot of people that do like him. And those people that like him and respect him, I would stand with. If they're for the cause, I would stand with. Would I stand with very emotional in this country?
And it brings an even greater sadness
I think that he's made some mistakes and some things he said and it shows
I will never be able to hear the private sessions that you and Jake Ghetto you Clark will be having in the future. I felt it always a privilege to listen to two great minds discussing topical issues that were 5 years out of date. Danny West for 25, 2 hours ago. Try over 10 years my time. Kaylee Nayovugs
Little Italy just ended, you obsessed cunt. Concerned for free speech.
I wasn't going to speak on this one at all because this is just an early morning thing that God just woke me up to catch. She's doing this shit at mad times now, this irrelevant nonsense. And yeah, that's something we actually agree on. I've not got a lot of time for Paul Thorpe. I'm sure you've seen Jake's interaction. Again, though, it's the same problem, isn't it? All of these grown-ups that are aware now of the children's testimony that are still trying to cover it up or just distract or go along with dickheads like AY. I mean, this is fucking embarrassing, Paul Thorpe. So fucking embarrassing, Paul Thorpe. You were already on the radar. You've already got a date, Paul Thorpe. Now you're chumming it up with fucking AY in Benidorm. Are you fucking mental, mate? Are you mental? Crack on. But Clyde, what are we going to do? You're here all day, every day, whatever time. Pip's not been around for a few hours. Great, this is fantastic. But are we starting to see here? Oh, actually, can you see? Right, so I've now got the police are now booking an appointment with me. They want an appointment with me to go through things, okay? So they're not just brushing me off. I've not just been given a stupid number or a letter like Michaela got written. No, none of that. They're having an actual appointment now to go through all of my evidence. An appointment at my leisure, an appointment to go through all of my evidence that's not been committed to the internet yet. Okay, now I've very, very, very genuinely been asking people to please repent because this is literally the last chance you have. And fantastic. Is it though? Is it? I'm not sure that it is because the rest of the world now, see, I don't know if you can see that I've done a confidentiality agreement as well. This is now what's going to be going out publicly so that anyone who wants to get involved in this mess now has the confidentiality agreement so they can start taking the deleted streams, the thousands, the tens of thousands of deleted streams and screenshots that I've got. Now I've got a confidentiality agreement for my members. Okay, you keep telling me I'm thick and I'm dumb, but AI literally loves me and thinks that I'm brilliant. So unless it's just, I mean, it was lying to Sky News, wasn't it? It probably is lying because it wants to be popular with me. I don't know, but it's literally going according to the law and backing up everything that I'm doing and putting it all into a very professional looking format. Just from what I'm telling it to do for me, if it doesn't mind, please, nicely, with manners and all sorts. Even my engagement with AI in and of itself is a teaching module, how to engage with AI. And it's agreed, did you know, and other people that see agree, nobody in authority or professional positions, nobody's faulted me, from psychologists to lawyers, to police, to solicitors. Nobody has faulted me. They've only ever backed up exactly what I'm doing and saying, right, you've got this. You don't really need us to. That's all I've had. Apart from when you go so hard that you're getting the police around here every 5 minutes, and I'm a little bit stressed out, and they go, oh, she thinks all these people, she thinks all these people want to hurt her, and then she actually gets sectioned. They go, whoa, these people actually do want to hurt her, don't they? She's not crazy. See where we're at. The psychologist herself said to me, I know we've often treated the victim and not the perpetrator of crimes. They are fully fucking aware of this situation. Do you hear me? And I've underscored it to the nth degree and documented it all from inside the fucking nut house while still being abused by you cunts. Because that's how good I am at my job. You didn't even guess that I'd been fucking lifted. I'd been taken away and put in the nut house. But everyone was lovely and I'm not crazy. So I got on fine, got out. Now what? Sits in Spain and tells people in Britain what to do. But I do think that he has a large following. And so there's a lot of people that do respect him. And there's a lot of people that do like him. And those people that like him and respect him, I would stand with. If they're for the cause, I would stand with. Would I stand with Paul Thorpe if he was in this country against what is happening? Yeah, I would. Yeah, even if I think that he's made some mistakes and some things he's said and he's shown himself to be a little bit cowardly. I don't think that everybody in Britain is heroes. I think there's a lot of people that are cowering right now. I think there's a lot of people afraid, and I think it's for people that are stronger to look at these people and say, all right, I understand. you haven't got the gumption to do it, but to stand up and stay in this country and fight for your country, at least respect the others that do. And when I look at it like that, I have to say that I think Paul Falk does respect the people standing up. You know? And so, in a way, you have to give that a little bit of mutual respect, because he does respect the people that are standing up. I mean, look at the respect he's giving Abai, and Abai's on the front line. Does that mean I'm still not able to criticise him? Of course I can criticise him. I do think some of the things that he said about Tommy, not knowing Tommy Robinson when Tommy Robinson was in prison, was bloody ridiculous. And then as soon as he comes out, he knows him really well again. You know? But he has other skills that are good for people that are trying to fight on the right side. And I don't mean right and left, I mean on the correct side. And that is he's able to articulate what is going on to people. And we have to recognise that. Everybody plays their small part. Some more than others. The one thing that I do wish is that he would respect Danny Roscoe more, because Danny Roscoe actually deserves a lot of respect. Because he, again, he's another person that's on the front line. You know, if he hears this, maybe that's the criticism that I would give him, that you need to respect Danny Roscoe and give him his dues, because he is a decent guy. And I do think that there were people that circumvented Paul Falk without his knowledge of who they were, and utilised him to sway him against certain people that were doing good work. You know?
Well, I see, I don't really like go to these Palestine marches too much, but I see them there, and I was like, you seriously, like, you're protesting for these ones, but these ones will do away with you.
Yeah, maybe they say, no, what is it? Masochists, that's it. Maybe they're masochists. Maybe they like the pain, I don't know. So where are you going to take your career now? Because, you know, things have changed a bit for you on your channel, unfortunately. Hopefully that will change for the positive in the future. But I want to say something now, right? This is not playing. This is totally my opinion. These guys that do the job that they do, for me, and I'm not just talking about you now, I'm talking about all the auditors that get out there, put their lives on the line, and they are putting their lives on the line in many respects, and we've seen that because of what can happen to people. I believe that all the auditors that get out there and do a genuinely good job, they deserve to earn whatever they earn. If they earn £1 million a week, it wouldn't bother me. I'd say good luck to you, deserve it. So, for me...
Yeah, I think that's the way the rest of us look at it as well, Paul. AY deserves to get his dues, because there is costs to going out there and filming this stuff, which is why people gave you a little bit of criticism, Paul, but I'm not going to get into that small-minded stuff, because there's a bigger picture here where people have to have a bit of unity, you know.
An income for you guys is really important. It doesn't have to be about the money, but you can't live for free. You know, respect don't pay the mortgage. Morals doesn't pay the bills. So going forward now, how do we make sure that AY Audits is out there doing his job, doing the best that he can, bringing the public the info that they need?
Look, I'm going to be... so obviously, YouTube demonetised me for 3 months. Maybe I can get it back in 3 months, I don't know. But one thing, we'll keep making our videos, we'll keep uploading our videos. They won't be as regular as what they was, like twice weekly. I'll probably slow down to 1 weekly. And then my live streams will continue exactly the same. And I'll just continue showing the truth, showing the people what they want to see.
Because the problem is that when you guys travel, for an example, a lot of people don't seem to get this. They think that you click your fingers and you're teleported from like London to Birmingham or whatever. I mean, there's trains, travel, food.
The problem I've got, Paul, is this, yeah? Not the problem, it's a good problem to have, I suppose, in some respects. Where I'm like a little bit high profile than some others, a little bit more recognisable, etc. So we have to go and take a hire car. Now, 2 of my mates who come with me, we have a laugh and a joke, yeah? And we turn around and say, they're security. They're not security. Yeah, they're mates. Yeah, one of them I went to school with, for Christ's sake. Yeah, big up Enterprise MOT. Give him a shout out as well. But yeah, do you know what I mean? But so like we will go, we have to eat, the hire car costs, and obviously like food, etc., like things like that, you know, and then obviously fuel and whatever. But
so there's a genuine significant cost to going out for the day and doing what you guys do. So you know, the fear is that if YouTube, that is one of the ways that they can attack us by taking away our income, which means that we've got to go and do something else to earn a living, which takes away our time away from YouTube.
Well, see, I've got my own business anyway, and I had my own business before YouTube.
And that won't, what you do won't impact on that?
It impacted a little bit, yeah. I did lose 1 contract over, not directly over my videos, but I guess that was the reason why, you know. More than likely. But yeah, I've got my own business, that still operates. I'd always spend the Monday and Tuesdays would always be my days away from YouTube and actually doing my normal business. Yeah, because I had to have the Mondays and Tuesdays to be able to, like, obviously plan for the rest of the week. It cost me a little bit extra because I had to give somebody a pay raise, because obviously he was doing more job than what he was getting paid for in the first place. And obviously if you're doing a good job, you must be rewarded, as in any business, you know what I mean? And that's exactly what happened, really. So,
who's your favourite competitor of yours, if you can call them competitor? Who do you look at as an auditor and go, do you know what, they're bloody good?
To be honest with you, I don't watch many auditors. Yeah. Like people that go to factory estates or people that go to. I'm not putting anyone down. Yeah, everyone's got their own thing, whatever they want to do. I'm not into that sort. But when it comes to like migrant hotels, you've got Truth Hurts 101, you've got Active Patriot, you've got Yorkshire Rose, and I wouldn't choose between any of them. Yeah, all three of them are my favourites, and you know that'd always rate the same. You know?
And this is one of the things that I really like about A-Boy. He always remembers to talk about the people that were foundational to him in making him go into auditing and what he saw and the work that Yorkshire Rose and everybody and Active Patriot and Room 101 has done.
Because they thoroughly deserve it.
It was Truth Hurts who actually the first TikTok that I actually see, and I was like, no, it can't be true. And I've learned a lot from him. Even we speak quite a lot as well.
Sorry, Truth Hurts 101. I don't know why I said Room 101.
Yeah.
And he's a very good guy. Same as Active Patriot.
I know why I do what I do. Why do you do it?
I felt like I had to, Paul. Like when I was seeing this stuff on TikTok, and then you start like reading up on stuff, and it was like, okay, like they're saying it's all like families and stuff. Yeah. Mate, do you know what? If it was all families and stuff, I'd say. Not really a problem with this, really, to be honest with you. Like helping women and children, not a big deal, really, to be honest.
It's not something you know. Out of bed and worry about, is it?
No, not really, mate. You know, and then like you start seeing the boats and stuff, you know, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, I'm gonna go have a look for myself. And in the first couple of hotels I went to, they was all families. Yeah, and I thought, a bit moody this, you know, like maybe they are. But then when I started going to more, they turned out that now when you actually look at the numbers, there's actually more all-male migrant hotels than there is families. Yeah, and the families are the real refugees, and these ones that are coming over from these boats, these are not refugees don't come like this. You know, I'm sorry. Like,
is the scale bigger than you imagined? Is it bigger than you thought it was?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Like I never thought, even like when you talk about the scale of it, even the hotels is just one thing. Yeah, like I'm following a coach the other night, a couple of weeks back. You might be in the live stream, I think. And he went to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Mate, it turns out the government a few years ago gave like 47 million quid for a complex of stuff for asylum seekers, alleged asylum seekers. Mate, these are not asylum seekers. He come off the boat 2 days prior.
Yeah.
And you just give him a 300 grand apartment.
It's insane, isn't it?
I'm sorry. Yeah, that there is not. You can't come back from that. Yeah. And there shouldn't be. The people should be able to turn around and like. And when it comes to this voting time, they've got a decision to make, and they've got to realise that throughout my life, Labour and Conservative have never done anything good for us. You know, so something must change. You know, and that goes back to that civil war thing. Unfortunately, we can't change it by that. You know, we can only change it by that bit of paper and that pen. You know, and
just make sure we get the right people in. I mean, lastly, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you've got to get back to the strip for your live stream.
No, I'm going to go up there about 12 o'clock tonight.
Oh my God, I'm going to be watching that. I tell you, because honestly, look, he's a lot younger than me, but I'm telling you now, I stay away from the strip on a Friday and Saturday night. You don't, honestly, you don't. So, I mean, like, look, for the lefties watching, and you know, a few lunatics, you know, in Parliament, they'd sit there and say, oh, look at these couple of far-right geezers there talking a load of bullshit, couple of racists. You know, what's your message to them? I know what mine is. It begins with F and ends in O, but like, you know.
Well, no, it doesn't end in O. It begins in F and ends in F. To be honest with you, but to be honest with you, if me saying, that our country is in such a bad place because of immigration and these hotels need to close and these boats need to stop, that makes me racist, so be it. I'm done with it. You know, like I'm actually being labelled so much in this last year.
You stop caring, don't you?
Do you know what? There's no space left on me for any more labels to go on.
Well said, A-Boy. That's how we all feel. No one gives a fuck anymore. Call us racist. We're going to stand for it for our country.
I'm full up of labels now, and I can't.
I spent the first 6 months of my political YouTube career just convincing everyone that I'm not racist, I'm not far right, blah, 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 blah. I've got friends from all different backgrounds, and then I just thought, you know what, fuck this, I can't be bothered with it anymore, because no matter what you tell them, they don't believe you. They still chuck the same labels at you. So I've just decided to be me. You know, I think you've never been anything else but yourself.
Try to be.
And the people decide. You know, the people out there. I mean, our audiences are massive. We get more views than the BBC online. We get more views than Sky TV.
Well, I was looking before because I get caught up in the numbers a little bit. You know, like early on days. Well, not early on days, but like June, July, and I had more views at Epping than BBC News. So between that time slot between 6 and 11. They averaged 784,000, and I averaged 800 and something thousand. And that was the BBC. And I thought to myself, like, this is big. You know, like we've just hit our audience.
That is really, really important. One thing I will say before we go, we're talking about ways that we can fight back, and we've got to do it peacefully through the ballot box. But I tell you, I do think there are other things that we can do. The time has come, I feel, to start boycotting some of the advertisers that continually advertise on LBC, Sky TV, ITV, all these woke institutions that keep pumping out their bullshit, because that is what the left are very good at.
Yeah.
They're very good at that. As soon as I started talking about politics, bang, they're straight on my sponsors. Don't touch him anymore. Don't do that anymore. If you deal with him, we're never going to deal with you again. So I think the time has come where the public can fight back in other ways that are completely. You know, if you see people advertising on Sky TV, don't buy their products. If you hear someone advertising on LBC, when
I definitely think people need to stop with the Uber Eats and the Just Eats. Yeah, don't do that no more. Definitely. Yeah.
James O'Brien is on, don't advertise with them. You know, there are things that people can do.
Of course there is. Like you talk about the like advertisers and stuff, yeah, like with the left. The left, I say, are probably 20, 30 years ahead of us.
Yeah.
Do you know, unfortunately, you know, like we're always playing catch up with them, you know. They're so well organised. Look how they bust them in, you know, like, look how they...
And they've got the funding. They've got the funding.
Because they've got these people in power, unfortunately, and that's, somehow we need to get rid of them and start getting ourselves more organised, start getting ourselves more together.
It's coming, though, isn't it? It's coming, slowly but surely.
This was my first year, yeah, so I'll be, I can't comment really, to be honest with you. Like, for what I see during last year, I was happy with the, you know, with the amount of people that was coming out. And people as well, Paul, that never even knew about, some people never even knew what a lefty was.
Yeah.
And people coming up to me and was like, I never knew about hotels.
Yeah.
And when I mean, I don't just mean like, I mean like thousands of people at these protests sometimes, yeah, was coming up to me and be like, I didn't know nothing about these people, about these hotels. And if it wasn't for you, I would never have known today, you know, and that gives me so much, forget all the money, yeah, that's what I do it for, you know, to show the people that this is what's going on, do you know what I mean? Like, and other people are woken up and more people are waking up.
That's our main job, isn't it, to wake other people up.
Yeah, show the people. Yeah.
Very last question. You met Tommy for the first time, I believe, the other week. What did you make of him?
Yeah, listen, I spoke with him for what, like 4 minutes,
Yeah.
you know, like, it's very hard to judge
He's
somebody.
inspiring, though, isn't he? He always inspires me whenever I listen to him.
Mate, you know what? I'm just grateful, yeah, for the help and the support, yeah, that he's gave to me in the last month or so.
Yeah.
Because like I'd never met the geezer before. I don't know him from Adam, you know, and like straight away as soon as Channel 4 have come and done this, he made his post about that, etc., etc.
And again, this is what I like about AY. He's grateful. He's grateful. People could say that, you know, AY's big-headed, this, that, and the other, but that's just bullshit. He's actually a very, very decent person who looks good in all people and is grateful.
Yeah. And yeah, so, and I always say to people as well, you must judge people on how they are with you.
Yeah,
you can't judge it by other people. Oh, this one says this or this one says that. You know, no, I'll make my own decisions by how they treat me.
Yeah,
and so far, you know, he's treated me okay. Like, you know, I've only met him.
And again, that's why I like AY, because he stands alone, like I do, and he has the same beliefs that I do. If you come at me with anger, you're going to get anger back. If you come at me and treat me well, you're going to get treated well, and that's a good thing. He's also prepared to talk to people that other people tell him not to. That's also a good thing. Pick up AY. Well done for your networking.
For like 4 minutes. But yeah, he seems like a...
he's a good guy.
It's everything the geezer said has come true.
So that'd be right.
And people need to remember that. Yeah. And I've been waiting for somebody. If somebody could find me a copy, yeah, I will give you a sign, something, flag or something. Find me something where he's been racist. Yeah. I can wait.
It's not out there, is it? It's not out there. That's the bottom line.
You know, like, just find me something. If someone can show me something, yeah, I'll say, okay, no problem. I'm not interested in edited clips here and there. Yeah, I want to see something.
Bring some receipts.
Yeah, bring some receipts about it, and then I will take it on board. Right.
Mate, thanks for the chat. I really appreciate it. Good to bump into you while you're out here. That was good. Now, I'm going to be watching your live stream later on. Right? I'm going to be watching, see what sort of trouble you can get yourself into. And it's also Halloween, but looking at... Listen, it doesn't have to be Halloween in Benidorm to see some white monsters walking around, right? So it should be fun. This is probably going to go out tomorrow morning, so that'll all be over. Whether we'll ever see him again or not is another thing. But anyway,
might be my last ever one.
I appreciate it, brother. All the
problem,
best. Now listen, the main thing is, the main message is, wherever you go, whatever you do, be careful, because the nation needs you. Don't give up what you're doing, please. But also, support this guy, because like I said, all the auditors, not just this one, they all need your support, because without your support, you lose them. Right? So use them or lose them. That's the bottom line. Stay safe, everyone. Another police car. You won't get away with anything out here, mate, I'll tell you. If I was to come and handcuff AY all this, that'd make for a good video, wouldn't it?
You have to quickly whack it like.
See you later, everyone. Take care.
See you later.
Well, I thought that was a really good interview. It showed AY at his best, relaxed, happy. Actually, it made me like Paul Falk a little bit more. So I actually think, yeah, brilliant networking. It's got AY's voice out there again. And yeah, lovely video, nice video, heartwarming video. It's what we want to see, unity, people coming together for the cause. Victor Meldrew says, people that say it hasn't fallen yet, people hold doors to me, they smile. They're the part of the problem. We're past any sort of government reform. I think there does have to be an establishment reform, though, Victor. I think that we do need, this government needs to go, and we need to get people in power as sensible, decisive, and looking after all of the nation and not just small pockets of it through corruption. You know, like I say, I don't believe that we need to be taking up arms and going after people, but what I do believe is that we need to be getting ourselves defensive. We need to have contingency plans, and we need to be there to support people whenever anything like this happens. That's what we need to be doing. No, your comments are there, Victor Meldrew. Field Van says, no, we have an Equalities and Human Rights Commission. Can we lobby them for the rights of gay folk to get married in a mosque? Why? Why would you want to do that, Phil? That doesn't make any sense at all to me. Why? How is that going to resolve the issues that we've got countrywide? You know? I don't get that. So, people, that is the end of my show. You know, all nicely flat packed or whatever. And I'll see you on the next one.
scissors and razors, hit me with the major, the damage my clan understand if it's flavor, gunning, coming at ya. First I'm gonna get you once I got ya. You can never capture the inner man's stature. For rhyme and for rapture, got niggas resigning, I master my style. Never, I put the fucking muck in the wild kid. Let's get sticking on. Shame on a nigga who tried to run game on a nigga. Shame on a nigga who tried to run game on a nigga. Shame on a nigga who tried to run game on a nigga. Who fuck wild with the trigger. Shame on a nigga who tried to run game on a nigga. Yeah, fuck yeah, bro. I walk like 20 white boys in the back of a pickup truck with hockey pucks and skateboards on the way to Woodstock. Leave on the Glock. I have a gun the size of a black hole. Shoot planets. Don't get frantic. Throw your hands up in the air. Don't panic. Supreme arm, leg, arm, head. Wu-Tang Clan, tight and strong dress.
For everybody, the ambulances.
Shame on a nigga who tried to run game on a nigga. Who fuck wild with the trigger. Shame on a nigga who tried to run game on a nigga. I'll fuck your ass up. With that logo, stuff from my vocal. Couldn't be bitter with a pair of bifocals. I'm no joker, like me as a joker. But you like a house on fire, smoking.
Harrowing ordeal for everybody involved.
And Oliver, just before we let you go, we of course know that there are 10 people in hospital, 9 with life-threatening injuries. Do we know more about those people? Are we hearing anything so far?
So the update that we had last night, very brief from the police, is that 10 people, as you say, taken to hospital, 9 of them in a critical condition, but we haven't had any further updates so far. We are potentially expecting this morning a new update from the British Transport Police here in Huntingdon. Of course, we'll bring that live to you on Sky, but we just know that there are those 9 individuals who are in a serious condition at a nearby hospital.
OK, for now, Oliver, thank you for that update. Well, Rachel Venables is here in the studio to discuss, I suppose, the political reaction. This is a major incident. We know that 2 people have been arrested. They're in custody. But what has been the political reaction, Rachel?
Well, I mean, of course, it's less than 12 hours since this incident took place. It was at 7:39 p.m. last night that the first 999 calls started rushing through to Cambridgeshire Police, to the British Transport Police. And in those hours since, the focus really has been on neutralising the situation, on rushing those injured people to hospital. And we've seen, and we can see from the station now, images, of course, still a huge amount of forensic work, police officers combing through every inch of that train, going through second by second the CCTV footage. Much of the response has been, I think, as you would expect, with politicians across the political spectrum sharing their horror at what's happened, expressing their condolences with the victims, with the families of those affected. And really, they are awaiting, I think, much like the rest of us, more news. I'll start with Kemi Badenoch, leader of the opposition, of course, leader of the Conservative Party. She said she's deeply disturbed by the reports emerging from Huntingdon. This is an absolutely horrific attack, and my thoughts are with all those affected, including the emergency responders at the scene. Now, somebody who I'm sure will have spent much, if not all, of the night working and liaising with the police is Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary. She said, I'm deeply saddened to hear about these stabbings in Huntingdon. My thoughts go out to those affected, and I urge people to avoid comment and speculation at this early stage. And that is crucial because, of course, when something happens of this scale, the urge is for many people to discuss it, to share theories. She's saying, please don't let the police do their jobs. And lastly, we heard in Ollie's report there, of course, the impact on the train services, which will be significant. Heidi Alexander, the Transport Secretary, again saying, my thoughts with those affected by this shocking incident on a train near Huntingdon. She says she's getting updates on the situation, and we are working closely with the British Transport Police. And so you have here this mesh of authorities, British Transport Police, Cambridgeshire Constabulary, who were able to send in those armed officers. And we also know, of course, counter-terrorism police as well, assisting in this operation. Initially, there were fears that this was a marauding terrorist attack, but that sort of order, that notice was rescinded. And for now, we're just waiting for any updates. Could happen any time now. Certainly, I would expect in the next few hours we get something more from the police indicating what they know and what they suspect happened.
Yeah, when we do hear from the police, we will bring that to you live here on Sky News. Rachel, thank you for that update. And we have heard from one witness who was on the train. So let's hear more then of what he had to say last night.
So what happened was I was in Coach G and there was quite a few people coming through Coach G, and one of the people that were coming through, I had my headphones on, then heard them say, oh, they've got a knife, I've been stabbed. And then when looking up, so they were making their way through the carriage to get away from the incident, from the suspect. They were extremely bloodied. That person ended up, when we pulled in, they were basically on the floor. We couldn't progress further down the train away from the suspect because that person ended up collapsing on the floor. So they were taken into an ambulance pretty much straight away. I think the driver did the right thing when we pulled the emergency or contact to let the driver know that something's going on. He pulled into Huntingdon, which is the right thing. Couldn't stop anywhere because anything could have happened. It was the right thing. We were ushered out of the station from the platform, and there was multiple people that had been stabbed that was making their way down, but the suspect had also come off the train as well. So while we were being told to come out of the station, the suspect was obviously running rampant as well, and I don't know the reason. No one knows the reason why. The people that did witness it have actually gone off to the HQ. They were taken with, the statements have been taken, and they are now going to the police station to give further statements. The armed police were pointing to the suspect. As we come off the train, I asked what that suspect looked like. They said it's a black male in all black, so a black hoodie. And then at the back of the station, he's walking calmly. As the police were coming through, like armed police, I said, I think that's the guy. And essentially, as they got closer to him, they started shouting, like, get down, get down. He then was waving a knife, quite a large knife. And then they detained him. I think it was a taser that got him down in the end. But I only saw one person at that point. I did not see anyone get stabbed, but there was a lot of people being moved away from being treated for injuries and coming away with the trolleys. I'd say probably maybe 12 people in total. Initially, it looked like there was only about 4, maybe 6 that had been stabbed. But maybe when we was coming up the train, I think they doubled back and just attacked anyone that they could. I don't know if it was staff or passengers.
Well, I'm pleased to say I'm joined now by MP for Huntington. That's Ben Obese-Ejekti joins us now. Very good morning to you, sir. I know that you were at the scene last night. I wonder, after some reflection, your thoughts this morning.
Well, waking up this morning to what was a truly horrific incident last night has been truly shocking. Coming back to the scene this morning, I was here till the early hours of last night, and coming back here this morning, the train still in the station. It really hammers home what a terrible incident has occurred right here in this constituency. So my thoughts are with all of the victims, and I know there are some seriously injured individuals off the back of this, and I'm just looking to get more information and looking to reassure local residents that the situation was brought under control last night.
Can you take us back to the scene last night when you arrived? What was it like?
I arrived here shortly after 9 p.m. and by that point there was a phenomenal police presence here and emergency services. There must have been 20 or 30 police cars, multiple fire engines, and obviously around 10 ambulances. The police response was incredible. I went and met with the chief constable around midnight last night, and he was able to update me on the police response. The first officers on the scene were actually local response officers, so the officers you would see in any high street on a Saturday night, and they were the first on the scene, and they were quickly followed by armed police, and that response was rapid. Incredible response from them, and I doff my cap to those brave officers who came to try and neutralise that threat. The overall response from officers has been incredible, though, and the way that the agencies are worked together last night to bring the situation under control was fantastic. Speaking to the chief constable, he actually said that they were training for an Operation Plato incident only last week, so fresh in the memory, and it's terrible that they would have had to bring those skills into effect so quickly.
We know that the attacks happened after the train left Peterborough. What more have you learned from the police about how the events unfolded?
I think it's still too early to know how the events unfolded. I've not spoken to anyone from British Transport Police yet who have primacy in this incident. I've only spoken to Cambridgeshire Constabulary, who obviously are providing local resource and supporting BTP in their investigation. But I know that the journey from Peterborough to Huntingdon is around 14 minutes, and so at whatever point the attack started on that stretch of the train line would have been a truly awful incident for all those involved. And we've heard the eyewitness accounts. That's as much as I'm aware of what actually took place on the train. But thankfully, the police were here once the train reached the station. And as I believe your reporter has spoken about earlier, the train wasn't able to stop any quicker than that. If you stop it, obviously, between stations in the night, people can't disembark from the train and get out of harm's way. So incredibly challenging situation to bring the train into the station and for people to be able to make their escape.
And just at this stage, what are you hearing about the condition of those injured and also the support offered to victims and their families?
I know that there were 10 casualties, 9 of which are life-threatening, which is a terrible, terrible situation to be in. Where Huntingdon Station is actually only a couple of minutes from both Hinchinbrook Hospital, which is a major hospital, and also Cambridgeshire Police Headquarters. So the emergency services response was incredibly rapid. With regards to what support's being given to individuals who were on the train, I know that the people who were taken off the train were taken to a local centre to be able to process them and give them the support that they needed. So those plans were in place, and that's incredibly important. I don't know anything more about the current medical condition of the victims, and I wouldn't want to speculate on that.
Of course, and as you mentioned at the top of this conversation, Huntingdon woke up to cordons, of course, delays, and also just shock this morning. How is the community reacting?
I think it's exactly as you said. It is shock. This is not a part of the world where incidents like this happen at all, and certainly don't happen regularly. And so to see a major incident of this nature is something that is really put everybody, set everybody back. And I think my role in this position is to reassure the local community and offer support to those people who've been affected.
And just finally, as someone who represents the area, was there last night, how did it feel witnessing such a tragic event unfold so close to home?
I think it makes you realise how lucky we are most of the time, and how something so tragic can affect any part of the country. And I think everybody needs to be vigilant and to be mindful of the threats that are out there. But I think also people need to keep cool heads at this time. I've seen an awful lot of speculation online and a lot of misinformation, and I think it's important that people take a step back and think about this before they do anything or say anything that might inflame the situation.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Ben Abese-Jepti, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
You're watching Sky News. Breaking news this morning. 10 people have been taken to hospital, 9 of them with life-threatening injuries after a mass stabbing attack on a train bound for London. Let's take you through a timeline of what we know happened. At 7:39 p.m, police were called to reports of multiple people being stabbed on board a train near Huntingdon in Cambridgeshire. Minutes later, armed police then arrived at Huntingdon Station and arrested 2 people. 10 people were then transported to hospital after a critical care and air ambulance teams were sent to the scene. We now know that there have been no fatalities so far, but 9 people, as we said, are believed to have suffered life-threatening injuries. All train lines surrounding the station are now blocked because of the incident, with major disruption expected today. Well, police commentator Graham Wetton has given this analysis on the attack.
First call came into police at 7:39. I think it pulled into the station about 7:44. So that's 5 minutes those people are on the train with these suspects with knives, possibly moving their way through carriages. Normal practice, if the police have got that information, will be to keep any other emergency services in the station car park until the armed officers, the properly equipped officers to deal with a knife threat, actually got onto the platform, locate and identify the suspects, and then deal with them, actually arrest them and restrain them and make sure it's safe for the other emergency services, the ambulance service, the paramedics and other unarmed officers can come onto the platform and deal with the passengers. And you saw then images of officers checking the other side of the tracks as well, because what can also happen in these cases is once the train pulls in, people actually, almost like bomb bursts from the train, they can go onto the other tracks or onto the other platform to get away from whatever threat or risk they face. So the whole station has to be searched and checked to make sure nobody's laying on the other track and needs some medical assistance. And that takes time as well, because you have to make sure that all the power's been shut down on both lines before you put officers onto both train tracks. It's why it's taken so long to put those officers working their way methodically through the whole station. But you can see a significant emergency service response now. The train's now been secured. There's officers checking the tracks on the other side of the train. 2 suspects, we've been told, have been arrested, and those injured persons have been taken to hospital. The emergency call, it seems, was pulled before it got to Huntingdon, and the driver's done exactly the right thing then, made his way as quickly as possible to the next station. I deployed to Cambridgeshire when I was in policing a few years ago to deal with other incidents, and my recollection of it is still the same. The Cambridgeshire Police HQ isn't that far from Huntingdon Station, so 5 minutes is a reasonable deployment time for them to actually be waiting at the station for the train to come in. But exactly the right thing to make their way to a station where there's platform access to the train for the emergency services and for the people to leave the train safely, and also for the suspects to be identified and arrested. There should be, British Transport Police should lead on this. It's on the rail network. They should be the lead force, but working closely with Cambridgeshire, because the incident has stopped or happened in the Cambridgeshire force area. So they will be working closely together. I would imagine by this stage, there's probably a goal group set up and meeting already. They're still in the very early stages of conducting an investigation, speaking to witnesses, speaking to the victims, getting an update on the condition of the victims so they know exactly what type of offences they're dealing with, making sure the suspects have been arrested, taken to a police station. They have to be evaluated and assessed before they're interviewed. So, any evidence you get or statements you get from during the interview hasn't been done while they're overtired or whatever. So there's certain policies and practices that have to be followed under legislation that the police will now be doing. That train will remain a crime scene. It will be secured. We saw officers with dogs just standing alongside the train. They'll put the dogs onto the train as well to make sure there's nothing else been left on the train that risks when the forensic officers and scenes of crimes officers arrive. There's nothing else that there's a risk or threat to them when they go on the train.
That was the analysis of Graham Wetton there. Police commentator Wildell Babu, a former Metropolitan Police Chief Superintendent, spoke to Sky News about his thoughts on the attack.
I think what we can reasonably speculate on is that there was 2 suspects and both have been detained. And I think that is significant in the sense that this is not a manhunt for other outstanding suspects. The police will have a very rehearsed programme. They will declare this a major incident. That immediately means that other emergency services like the ambulance service, the fire brigade and the police will have a coordinated plan. They would set up an RVP, the rendezvous point where all the agencies would travel to the site, and they would then be called into the train station. Effectively, you've got a crime scene on the train and on the platform area, and the police would then start making sure, once they've detained the 2 suspects and taken them away, making sure that they deal with the casualties that are there, and that would be an absolute priority for them, trying to help and support people who have been stabbed. They would also want to make sure that they can get details of witnesses. There'll be a lot of forensic information for them to collect. There'll be CCTV evidence for them to review, and they will have an intelligence cell up and running to make sure that they can coordinate all the information they have. Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire police have joined operations around major incidents, so they'll be working together. And although BTP have primacy over this, the scene of the crime, British Transport Police, all the forces will be working together. So it does seem that, horrific as this incident is, it does appear that the 2 suspects have been detained. They will be questioned, and now it's a case of just making sure that they manage the scene. There is just one final thing I would say initially, in that the police have said very, very clearly, the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, is that it's important for people not to speculate. It's important that people don't start sharing images on social media. You may well have loved ones who have been injured, and then they've not been able to tell their loved ones, and it'd be terrible if people saw those images of people who are hurt or people who are distressed circulating on social media. If anybody has any information, then please contact 101 or upload it to Cambridgeshire Police's website. I think it's perfectly reasonable. We know that the information would have been given on the 999 system around the fact that multiple stabbings were taking place on the train station. I think it's perfectly reasonable for the police to deploy firearms officers. I understand these were Cambridgeshire Police firearms officers, albeit the BTP, British Transport Police, has primacy for this offence, and they are deployed with tasers and firearms. I was a firearms commander. You always want to make sure that you've got both those options available, and there is, I understand, information that one taser was deployed. If a taser doesn't work, then you've always had the option of using a more substantial force, i.e. in a firearm. So I think that's perfectly reasonable. I think the fact that suspects were detained very quickly is to the credit of the police, and they would have not really known the exact circumstances of what they were going into. So it shows incredible levels of bravery, and I think now it's about listening to the police, listening to what they want as best evidence, and making sure that we do everything we can to bring the people who've committed these offences to justice.
You're watching Sky News. We do start the morning with breaking news because 10 people have been taken to hospital, 9 of them with life-threatening injuries. This is after a mass stabbing attack on a train bound for London. Witnesses have described a horrific scene as a man used a large knife to attack passengers while some tried to hide in the toilets. Well, the London North Eastern Railway train was travelling from Doncaster to London's King's Cross. The LNER service made an emergency stop at Huntington in Cambridgeshire, where it was met by armed police, and 2 people were arrested. The stabbing has been declared a major incident, with counter-terrorism policing now supporting the investigation into the circumstances and motivation behind the attack. Gurpreet Nawan reports.
It all happened within a matter of minutes. This London-bound train rolled out of Peterborough station at 7:30 p.m. By 7:39, the first 999 call had gone in. 2 attackers with knives were storming through the carriages, stabbing passengers. The ordeal ended at Huntington, where armed police were waiting.
There was quite a few people coming through Coach G, and one of the people that were coming through, I had my headphones on, then heard them say, oh, they've got a knife, I've been stabbed. As the police were coming through, like armed police, I said, I think that's the guy, and essentially as they got closer to him, they started shouting, like, get down, get down. He then was waving a knife, quite a large knife, and then they detained him.
Passengers raced through the carriages to try and escape. Others hid in toilets. 9 people are now fighting for their lives in hospital, another receiving treatment. At this stage, we don't know much about the attackers, who they are and why they did this. But what we do know is that this is being treated as a major incident, with counter-terrorism police assisting the investigation.
I think the swiftness of the response, the number of police officers who were on the scene when I arrived was simply staggering. Huntington Station is actually very near to Cambridgeshire Police headquarters, so you couldn't have asked for a shorter distance for that response to occur. So very reassuring, but at the same time terrifying that this incident has occurred in this area.
The Home Secretary cautioned against early speculation. She and the Prime Minister shared their sympathies for the victims. Sir Keir Starmer said, "The appalling incident on a train near Huntington is deeply concerning. My thoughts are with all those affected, and my thanks go to the emergency services for their response." That response was swift. It saved lives. But there are still many unanswered questions and many details that are still coming into focus. Gurpreet Narwan, Sky News.
Our correspondent Oliver Whitfield-Miocic is in Huntingdon for us. Very good morning to you, Oliver. People in the area across the country really waking up to shock this morning.
Yes, they are, because this was a train journey that was meant to be going to the capital from Doncaster, leaving Doncaster at 6:25 yesterday evening, and then about an hour in to that train journey is when this attack started. And we've heard there from that eyewitness who was speaking to Sky News about how people were just sitting in their seats, going about the journey as they would do. People had their headphones on, perhaps watching something on their phones or listening to music, to then see people running past in the aisles, past those seats, taking off your headphones to hear that somebody has a knife. Now, passengers, of course, trying to get away as fast as they can from that person who was carrying what is believed to be a large knife. And obviously in that panic, people were getting pushed, people were getting trampled on, others were hiding in bathrooms in order to try to protect themselves as best as they could. But there's very few places that you can effectively get away from somebody in the confines of a train. They tried their best to raise the alarm with the train driver, but that standard operating procedure is that you try to the next closest train platform. Now, it's about a 14-minute train journey from the station before here, Peterborough, to Huntingdon. So it's believed that this attack started about 10 minutes into that journey. Before those passengers who are on board this train, when minutes feel like seconds or seconds feel like minutes, whenever there's an emergency like this, to have to go for that 4 to 5 minute wait to get to this relative safety must have been absolutely agonising. We know that the train drivers then alerted the authorities, Cambridgeshire Police and British Transport Police working in conjunction. Because this is an incident that's happened on railway infrastructure, British Transport Police takes primacy, but it was armed officers from Cambridgeshire Police, whose headquarters is luckily only a few minutes from where we are standing, that first attended. They could be seen running down that platform to try to neutralise the threat, as they've been trained to do. Now, we understand that the police force had been only training for an incident like this only a week ago, and they declared Plato as they arrived on scene. Now, that is what a police force will declare when they believe that there is a marauding terrorist threat. That was later stood down. Counter-terrorism police are, however, investigating and helping out with the investigations of those other two police forces. So far, this hasn't been declared a terrorist incident officially, but this was still nonetheless a terrifying incident for the passengers on board. Now, once the suspect had been what we believe is tasered, the passengers were then taken off the train. First aid tendered to those people who had been stabbed. We know that 10 people have been taken to hospital, 9 of them in a life-threatening condition. And then the remaining passengers were spoken to by police officers. Any witnesses were then taken to Cambridgeshire Police headquarters, where they were given a full debrief. They told their version of events. But as you can see behind me, the train is still in situ, and it will remain here because the police are carrying out their investigation, and it will be painstaking work. They've got to go through and get forensic evidence. They've got to go through and try and find any information that they can. They'll be scrubbing the onboard computers from the train, getting the CCTV that they can, corroborating that with the CCTV from the station, along with the testimony from the passengers who were on board. But because this train is now effectively here as a scene of crime, it means that there's going to be huge disruption all day to the East Coast Main Line. Now, this is a huge stretch of track which goes from King's Cross in London up here to Huntingdon, Peterborough, Doncaster. Other station stops include Durham, Newcastle. It then goes up to Scotland, where ultimately it'll end up in Edinburgh. But you can imagine then all of the passengers who are intending to travel on this line on this Sunday will now not be able to do so. They'll have to make alternative arrangements, and there will be inevitable delays that come from that. However, the main focus of the authorities is to try to get to the bottom of exactly what happened here and why on a Saturday night, when passengers were heading into the capital to either celebrate, to go and see friends and family, or to make onward journeys, why this incident has happened, which is so shocking and terrifying for everybody on board.
Oliver, thank you for that update. And we should hear from police at some point today. We'll bring you that when we do. Rachel Venables joins us in the studio now. Before we do hear from the police, there has been political reaction to this shocking incident, Rachel, hasn't there?
Very much so. I mean, it's exactly as you would expect. In the first instance, we always hear, don't we, after awful moments like this, from various politicians talking either about what they're doing to try to assist the authorities or really just sharing their thoughts, their feelings, their prayers for all those involved in this horrendous attack on that London-bound train last night. For now, we're in a slight holding pattern, waiting for more information from the police. We know they will have spent overnight working, as we just heard from Oliver's report. They're speaking to witnesses, 2 men in custody. Obviously, that's a key part of their investigation, as will be the various CCTV footage. And no doubt, of course, people will have taken photos or filmed things on their phones. They'll be trawling through that. I'll just start with a brief update from Chief Superintendent Chris Casey of the British Transport Police. Of course, remember, one of the first on the scene, initially fearing this was a marauding terror attack. But that offer then, or that order rescinded. He said in a statement, this is a shocking incident. And first and foremost, my thoughts are with those who have been injured this evening and their families. He says we're conducting urgent inquiries to establish what has happened. It could take some time, he's warning us here, before we're in a position to confirm anything further. Now, we are hopeful to get an update from himself, from his colleagues, from police in the coming hours. But in the meantime, we've heard from a number of politicians, including Kemi Badenoch, leader of the opposition, who says she's deeply disturbed by the reports emerging from Huntingdon. She says this is an absolutely horrific attack, and my thoughts are with those affected, including the emergency responders at the scene. Obviously, so many police, paramedics and the like were sent out there last night. We've also heard from Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, obviously this falling really within her remit. She says, I'm deeply saddened to hear about the stabbings in Huntingdon. My thoughts go out to those affected. And she has put out a plea. She says, I urge people to avoid comment and speculation at this early stage. And I think that is so crucial. There will be people with footage, with more information. The key thing is please don't share that sort of thing on social media, and also avoid speculation, because at this stage we just do not know what happened last night and why. And lastly, we've had a statement from Heidi Alexander, the Transport Secretary. Again, Oliver was talking about the huge knock-on impact to transport along that side of the country. She says, my thoughts are with those affected by this shocking incident on a train near Huntingdon. She says, I am getting updates on the situation and we are working closely with the British Transport Police. And I think all of those people and more, as I said already, watching and waiting to see if we do get any more updates, any more intelligence from the police about the state of their investigation. At the same time, real focus, of course, on those 10 people injured, 9 of them with life-threatening injuries. Thankfully, there has been no fatalities yet. Nobody has died, certainly as far as we're aware. So the key thing is about hoping that those people pull through, and whether or not we get any update as to that in the coming hours as well, we'll obviously be keeping a close eye on.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Really appreciate that. We have heard from one witness who was on that train. So let's hear more of what he had to say last night.
So what happened was I was in Coach G and there was quite a few people coming through Coach G, and one of the people that were coming through, I had my headphones on, then heard them say, they've got a knife, I've been stabbed. And then when looking up, so they were making their way through the carriage to get away from the incident, from the suspects. They were extremely bloodied. That person ended up, when we pulled in, they were basically on the floor. We couldn't progress further down the train away from the suspect because that person ended up collapsing on the floor. So they were taken into an ambulance pretty much straight away. I think the driver did the right thing when we pulled the emergency or contact to let the driver know that something's going on. He pulled into Huntingdon, which is the right thing. Couldn't stop anywhere because If anything could have happened, it was the right thing. We were ushered out of the station from the platform, and there was multiple people that had been stabbed that was making their way down, but the suspect had also come off the train as well. So while we were being told to come out of the station, the suspect was obviously running rampant as well, and I don't know reason. No one knows the reason why. The people that did witness it have actually gone off to the HQ. They were taken with their statements have been taken, and they are now going to the police station to give further statements. The armed police were pointing to the suspect as we come off the train. I asked what that suspect looked like. They said it's a black male in all black, so a black hoodie. And then at the back of the station, he's walking calmly. As the police were coming through, like armed police, I said, I think that's the guy. And essentially, as they got closer to him, they started shouting, like, get down, get down. He then was waving a knife, quite a large knife. And then they detained him. I think it was a taser that got him down in the end. But I only saw one person at that point. I did not see anyone get stabbed, but there was a lot of people being moved away from being treated for injuries and coming away with the trolleys. I'd say probably maybe 12 people in total. Initially, it looked like there was only about 4, maybe 6 that had been stabbed. But maybe when we was coming up the train, I think they doubled back and just attacked anyone that they could. I don't know if it was staff or passengers.
That was just the witness account of someone on the train at the scene of a multiple stabbing on a train in Cambridgeshire. We'll be reflecting this throughout the programme. Coming up next, we will be taking a look at the papers and their continued coverage of that attack.
I'm Martin Brunt, and I'm Sky's crime correspondent. My most memorable story was, and still is, the disappearance of Madeleine McCann.
Please, please do not hurt her. Please give our little girl back.
It's a case that has shocked, puzzled and divided the public like no other.
We aim to be the best and most trusted place for news. The story is really one of vast numbers of Unite the Kingdom supporters turning out and taking the police by surprise. I remember the grimmest case, the Soham murders of schoolgirls Holly and Jessica. I felt I can't undo what's happened, but I can help explain it.
Ian Huntley was arrested and charged within a fortnight of the murders.
Jihad al-Shami, the suspected Islamist terrorist who murdered Jews on UK soil. My biggest challenge was to persuade a jailed diamond thief to answer my letters. Martin Brunt, Sky News, at the Old Bailey.
Go ahead, back white jacket.
Deborah Haynes from Sky News. He called you Daddy earlier.
No,
Do you...
he did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy. Thank you.
Leicester is on its knees.
They've ripped the soul out of my factory and there's nothing left.
It is eerily quiet.
It's constantly on the brink of capacity.
There's overcrowding. It's not a new thing.
It's rough.
There's nothing to hide. Why aren't international journalists allowed in?
Are you worried about escalation? Of course I'm worried about escalation, which is why my focus is on de-escalation.
The region, I think, is on edge because they are anticipating a retaliation.
Iran retaliates for the US attacks.
Founding principle of the alliance, that an attack on one is an attack on all.
Could Putin attack another NATO country within 5 years?
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm joined now by Charlie Rowley, former Special Advisor to Michael Gove, and journalist and political commentator Jade Azim, for a look at the papers. And we will focus on the multiple stabbing on that train in Cambridgeshire. We'll start with the Sunday Times, because their headline is the fact that 2 were arrested over this stabbing. It happened just after leaving Peterborough. It was 7:39 in the evening. You can only imagine, Jade, how busy that train would have been.
Yeah, of course. So this is obviously the weekend of Halloween. We're going into bonfire night. You don't expect this to happen on a busy train going into London. But this horrific recount that the Times has of those horrific scenes coming out of this incident, you know, passengers scrambling to get away, hiding in the toilet, calling out that they love each other. You know, it's a really, really horrific incident that you just don't expect. And the sense of a lack of safety on a very, very busy train where there's just very little escape, right? So obviously 2 people have been arrested. There's little detail as to, much speculation, but little detail as to who they are. But what we do know is that 10 people are severely injured in hospital, and hopefully they are okay. But obviously, you know, one of the amazing things to come out of this is just how quickly the first responders went to the scene and managed to deal with the situation, and how quickly they were arrested as well, if you were to get any silver lining at all.
No, absolutely. I think it's really important that there has been universal praise, Charlie, for the emergency services that were on that scene very quickly. Armed police were deployed to the station following that very first report.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, on a Saturday night, every emergency services will be busy. And so to be able to respond in the time that they did, as has been reported, which was immensely quick, will obviously be welcome. And of course, the response of the driver, imagine on that train that has just departed Peterborough, he then obviously would have heard, he or she would have heard an alarm that has come through and had to then make a decision, well, you know, is this somebody having a laugh? Is there somebody drunk on my train or whatever? But then obviously the reports came through that you need to stop, and he did within about 5 minutes, pulling into Huntingdon in an emergency, and then the responses, the responders, armed police and ambulance and crew were all there ready to leap into action. And so I think in a very, very dark news day of those injured who are in hospital, you know, the stories of the emergency services and people that, you know, we might hear about on the train, how they might have acted to help and support and protect other passengers. You know, you never know those kinds of stories that will come out. But at the minute, we've just got to wait and allow the police to do their job, to get to the bottom of what they need to get to the bottom of, and for the information to be public as soon as possible, before we can then sort of, I think, feel a bit more ease as a country.
Jay, the article pulling out, as we've been reporting here on Sky News, statements from the political spectrum, all universally condemning this. Keir Starmer, they're quoting, saying this is an appalling incident on a train near Huntingdon, is deeply concerning, and his thoughts, he's saying, are with those affected. And that will be a universal thread for the politicians.
Yes, they've all party leaders and the local MP who you just had on have all come out and obviously universally condemned, praised the first responders and urged caution on speculation as well.
Charlie, I think you made this point too, along with Jade, about the witness statements that we've heard throughout the morning, reacting to what happened. A witness describing seeing a man with a large knife and saying that there was blood everywhere. And I suppose a lot of the accounts, as we will hear them through the day, you know, people trying to protect each other, a man shielding a younger child, people locking themselves in toilets.
Who are these 20 special children?
There's Millie, she's a brown girl.
Millie who? Who are these 20 special children?
There's Millie, she's a brown girl.
Millie. Who are these 20 special children?
There's Millie, she's a brown girl.
Millie who?
Millie Cowell.
Millie Cow?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you know she's one of the 20 special children?
Because I know, because she comes in, they do sex to her, mostly.
Who are these 20 special children?
There's Millie, she's a brown girl. There's Millie, she's a brown girl.
Millie. Who are these 20 special children?
There's Millie, she's a brown girl.
Millie. Who are these 20 special children?
There's Millie, she's a brown girl.
Millie. Who are these 20 special children?
There's Millie, she's a brown girl.
Millie.
Super chat, tout là-bas. Ben oui, c'est bien lui, c'est super chat. Super chat, ce n'est pas une chauve-souris, non, c'est super chat. C'est super chat, c'est super chat. Tout là-haut, là-haut dans les airs. C'est super chat, avec son masque de travers. C'est super chat. Super chat. Merci super chat. Super chat. C'est super chat. Super chat. J'ai adoré. Super chat. C'est super chat. Super chat. Pas moi. Super chat. C'est le super chat. Super chat. Formidable super chat. Super chat. Super chat. Miaou.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a shouting match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it, Voldemort? That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles. Knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Bode well for you or for the rest of us, really. It just turns into a shouting match.
All she has, because she has not looked into who I am or what's gone on with.
I don't need to look into. Well, look. Yesterday, where was it? It was yesterday. She turned around and said to me, "I need to research my enemy." Yeah. So I researched my enemy, and the first thing that came up was her dead dad. So, like, what do you want me to do? And I figured out why you're so obsessed with Danny, isn't it? Because your dad's name was Danny, isn't it, Voldemort? That's why you're obsessed with Danny. You got this weird obsession, like it's weird. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Yeah. But let me keep the smoke for later.
With my children, she's jumped on a bandwagon with paedophiles. Knows she's fucked up, and now all she does is go to my dead dad and kids.
Hello, good morning. It's 8 o'clock. This is Sky News. 9 people are fighting for life after a mass stabbing on a train heading for London. Armed police storm the train and arrest 2 people after an emergency stop at Huntington Station.
As the police were coming through, like armed police, I said, I think that's the guy. And essentially, as they got closer to him, they started shouting, like, get down, get down. He then was waving a knife, quite a large knife.
Counter-terrorism police are called in as a major incident is declared.
And Huntington Station remains closed as police comb the area for any clues into last night's attack.
You're watching Sky News. Breaking news this morning. 10 people have been taken to hospital, 9 of them with life-threatening injuries after a mass stabbing attack on a train bound for London. Witnesses have described a horrific scene as a man used a large knife to attack passengers while some tried to hide in the toilets. Well, the London North Eastern Railway train was travelling from Doncaster to London's King's Cross. The LNER service made an emergency stop at Huntington in Cambridgeshire, where it was met by armed police. 2 people were arrested. Now, the stabbing has been declared a major incident, with counter-terrorism policing now supporting the investigation into the circumstances and motivation behind the attack. Gurpreet Dhawan reports.
It all happened within a matter of minutes. This London-bound train rolled out of Peterborough Station at 7:30 p.m. By 7:39, the first 999 call had gone in. 2 attackers with knives were storming through the carriages, stabbing passengers. The ordeal ended at Huntington, where armed police were waiting.
There was quite a few people coming through Coach G, and one of the people that were coming through had my headphones on, then heard them say, oh, they've got a knife, I've been stabbed. As the police were coming through, like armed police, I said, I think that's the guy. And essentially, as they got closer to him, they started shouting, like, get down, get down. He then was waving a knife, quite a large knife. And then they detained him.
Passengers raced through the carriages to try and escape. Others hid in toilets. 9 people are now fighting for their lives in hospital, another receiving treatment. At this stage, we don't know much about the attackers, who they are and why they did this. But what we do know is that this is being treated as a major incident, with counter-terrorism police assisting the investigation.
I think the swiftness of the response, the number of police officers who were on the scene when I arrived was simply staggering. Huntington Station is actually very near to Cambridgeshire Police Headquarters, so you couldn't have asked for a shorter distance for that response to occur. So very reassuring, but at the same time terrifying that this incident has occurred and has occurred in this area.
The Home Secretary cautioned against early speculation. She and the Prime Minister shared their sympathies for the victims. Sir Keir Starmer said, "The appalling incident on a train near Huntington is deeply concerning. My thoughts are with all those affected, and my thanks go to the emergency services for their response." That response was swift. It saved lives. But there are still many unanswered questions and many details that are still coming into focus. Gurpreet Narwan, Sky News.
Well, let's take a look at the timeline of events in a bit more detail for you. At 6:25 last night, the LNER train departed Doncaster for London's King's Cross at 7:38 p.m. Shortly after the train left Peterborough station, the East of England ambulance service received reports of multiple stabbings on board and mobilised a large-scale response. And a minute later, Cambridge Police deployed armed officers. At 7:42 p.m, British Transport Police were also called to reports of multiple stabbings. 2 people were arrested and 10 were taken to hospital, 9 of which are believed to have life-threatening injuries. Let's go live now to our correspondent, Oliver Whitfield-Miocic, who is in Huntingdon Station for us. Oliver, great to see you. Just bring viewers up to date on what we're learning so far.
So we're learning that this was an absolutely horrifying ordeal for all of those passengers who were on board. And we talked there about the timeline, about how that train set off from Doncaster and then this attack happening between Peterborough and Huntingdon before those passengers who were sitting on board the train, minding their own business, many of them either speaking with their friends and family as they were heading down to the capital to either enjoy a night out or go and see other relatives or perhaps even have onward journeys. Others will have been sat there with their headphones on, watching something on their phones or listening to music. And then to have that peace shattered as people ran down the aisle. We heard from one of the eyewitnesses how he took off his headphones and then heard somebody saying that this man has got a knife. And this person dressed all in black, coming down those train carriages, stabbing people randomly and indiscriminately, it would seem, and then causing that mass panic. So obviously people trying to get away as fast as they could, but effectively trapped within the confines of the train carriages. There's only so many carriages you can get to before you get to the driver's cab or the end cab on the other side. And so we heard that these passengers, some of them had been pushed, jostled. In some cases, they'd been trampled on. Other passengers going and locking themselves in the toilet, trying to find sanctuary and safety. The alarm raised with the train driver, who's then obviously alerted the authorities. But that train driver has to get the train to a point of relative safety, that being the next possible stop. And this is Huntingdon, where he had to travel for about 4 or 5 minutes. But for those passengers who were on board, in moments like this, seconds feel like minutes, and so those 4 minutes must have been an excruciating wait. But unbeknownst to them, the authorities had already been alerted, Cambridgeshire Police, the local ambulance service and British Transport Police. And because this is an incident on railway infrastructure, British Transport Police takes the lead role, but they called on support from Cambridgeshire Police, who provided those armed response officers who could be seen running down the platform at speed. Now, we understand when they arrived, they declared Plato, and Plato is the sort of police-wide term that is used for a marauding terrorist threat. That was later stood down. Counter-terrorism police, however, are assisting with the investigations. And although this hasn't been officially declared a terrorism incident, this will have been a terrifying ordeal for everybody who was on board. We heard from the eyewitness how one of the suspects in this attack was then tasered by police. The passengers on board taken off, interviewed, first aid tendered to those who needed it. 10 people taken to hospital. 9 of them have got a life-threatening condition. But for the other passengers who witnessed the incident, they have been interviewed by police, some of them taken to Cambridgeshire Police headquarters, which isn't far away from where we're standing at all. Now, I'm going to stand out of shot so you can see the train is still here. It is now an active crime scene. It is going to be combed through by police officers as they try to get forensic evidence. We've seen forensic officers who were here last night. They're also going to be trying to get information from the train's onboard computer, working out when the alarms were raised, looking through the CCTV cameras that are on board the train, on board the station platform, and then corroborating what they can see on those feeds with what they've heard from the passengers. But because that train is in situ, it means that there's going to be disruption to the East Coast Main Line, which is a huge stretch of track that goes from King's Cross in London all the way up to Edinburgh in Scotland, calling at stations like Huntingdon, Peterborough, Doncaster, Durham and Newcastle before it makes its way into Scotland. That will cause huge disruption through the remainder of today, we're being told, from the train operators LNER, and that means that passengers will have to be making alternative arrangements, likely leading to huge delays. Despite those delays, though, the primary focus of the authorities is trying to get to the bottom of what happened here, and so they will be looking exactly at the events that unfolded on this Saturday evening as people were preparing to go to the capital. A train journey, though, that would be mired in horror.
Oliver, thank you for that update. We should be hearing from the police at some point today with an update. Rachel Venables is here. But before that does happen and that we get to that point, there has been political reaction and all really universally, of course, as you'd imagine, condemning what happened, Rachel.
Very much so. And I think everybody who has responded to this talking about their thoughts and feelings really very much being with the people who were on board that train, whether those who ended up in hospital. We know 9 people with life-threatening injuries, a 10th person also injured, whether it's just the people who Oliver was just describing, you know, who were caught up in the panic, in the crush and the fear as they heard about somebody making their way down the train with a large knife and seemingly stabbing people indiscriminately. You mentioned the police. We are hoping for an update from them at some point
Actually, we've just had a bit of breaking news on that, Rachel, because British Transport Police say that we will be hearing from them. They'll be at the scene, at that railway station, sometime between 9 and 10 o'clock this morning. So we will then get some more updates about what happened, maybe updates on the victims too, because 10 were transferred to hospital, 9 of those with life-threatening injuries.
Yes, and I think that's exactly what we would have expected to see, the timing about right as well. Remember, this incident happened at 7:39 yesterday evening, so that's well over 12 hours later, gives the police overnight to speak to witnesses, to gather information, and they would have known that the whole country's really focus is on that train station in Huntingdon. They'll want to provide an update, even if there isn't anything materially new to say. Their aims will be around messaging, reassuring the public, letting them know, and hopefully we'll hear an update as well on those 10 people who've been injured, as well as more details about the 2 individuals possibly who have been arrested, and any more about what the police are expecting. We know originally counter-terror police certainly assisting British Transport Police, so we'll obviously have to keep a close eye on that statement, which we will carry live on Sky News, I'm sure, sometime between 9 and 10. We had actually already had a statement through from the Chief Superintendent of the British Transport Police, Chris Casey, and he described this as a shocking incident. He said, first and foremost, my thoughts are with those who've been injured this evening and their families. We are conducting urgent inquiries to establish what had happened, and he says it could take some time before we're in a position to confirm anything further. So obviously we'll await for a greater update or another update, possibly from him, possibly from a colleague later on this morning. Other updates in the political spectrum, we've heard from the likes of Kemi Badenoch, leader of the Conservatives, saying she's deeply disturbed by the reports emerging from Huntingdon. She says this is an absolutely horrific attack and her thoughts are with all those affected, including the emergency responders, who we know will have spent the night at the scene. Also speaking, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, saying she's deeply saddened to hear about the stabbings in Huntingdon. Her statement says, my thoughts go out to all those affected, and I urge people to avoid comment and speculation at this early stage, a key plea there. And finally, we've also heard from Heidi Alexander, the Transport Secretary. My thoughts, she says, are with all those affected by this shocking incident on a train near Huntingdon. I'm getting updates on the situation and we're working closely with the British Transport Police.
OK, Rachel, thank you. So British Transport Police will be giving us an update on this story between 9 and 10 o'clock this morning. Let's go live now, though, to a security specialist, and that's Will Geddes. Will, I wonder if I can ask you first about the victims in this situation and the balance that security teams have to play, really, around saving lives and getting people safe and securing a crime scene, particularly in the minutes after chaos. Morning to you.
Morning, Leah. Yes, it's, as you can imagine, a pretty complex but well-rehearsed process in responding to these types of situations. And BTP will have models of rehearsal and exercise in working with all the blue lights
Just Millie. She's a brown girl.
Millie.
Oh, how beautiful it is to see you moving. Oh, how beautiful it is to see you move. You've poured out your spirit on every heart. You've sent forth your word, and it's come to pass. What our fathers and mothers could only foretaste is now in our lifetime. The order of day, eyes are unveiling, hearts are aligning, dead bones are rising, His spirit is moving, eyes are unveiling, hearts are aligning, dead dreams are rising. His spirit is moving. He's breaking addictions, yes, and breaking religion, yes. His spirit is moving. His spirit is freedom. Eyes are aligning. Dead bones are rising. His spirit is moving. His spirit is freedom. He's breaking tradition and
models of rehearsal and exercise in working with all the blue light services. And this has happened really since the Manchester Arena bombing, that all blue light services know that they need to co-join in these situations until they can determine what's going on. But the first thing inevitably is going to be containing the threat. The second thing will be dealing with those that are appearing to be in the worst states of injury. And then thirdly or tertiary will be to deal with those that are very much alive, are there, but to try and get them out of the scene as quickly as they possibly can. The actual scene of crime or the scene of the incident in terms of the subsequent investigation will be considerate to all those elements, and certainly the footprints of the authorities as they responded to the situation.
And Will, when you look at what happened on that train, what stood out to you the most in terms of the security response?
Well, I think it was an excellent response. I mean, we've seen occasions in the past, regrettably, where the response hasn't been that effective. But again, this is a process of lessons learned. And after any incident that takes place, the authorities will get together. They'll look at how they responded, what they could have done, what they should have done, and what they can do better in the future. Now, Cambridgeshire has a good background, a Cambridgeshire Constabulary background in dealing with anti-terrorism and counter-terrorism, and working obviously with counter-terrorism police and armed response units. They know how they can work effectively together. But inevitably, in terms of the response mechanism, this probably was drawn not just by the driver or someone pulling the emergency stop button or cord, but it will be probably from members of the public who dialed 999 when this incident was unfolding to alert them. So again, it was down to the driver to bring the train into a station or into a location which would allow the authorities to get to it expediently.
And we've heard that passengers, as you mentioned there, themselves played a role in just helping each other. Is that something we're seeing more of? You know, ordinary people stepping in when violence breaks out?
Well, it's down to the individual, and thankfully there are those members of society and of the public who will react and respond to situations, sometimes disregarding their own safety, to try and keep other passengers safe. You can imagine how horrific this was for the passengers. They're in a contained environment where they only have two directions of possible escape. And certainly some of the reports that I've been hearing is individuals didn't know from which direction the threat was actually coming. And again, more information will no doubt come to light in the passing hours and in the passing days. And I hope that the BTP's statement, which they're supposedly going to be giving between 9 and 10 this morning, will be substantive, because that's the only way they're going to shut down much of the speculation that is currently online.
And I know, Will, in the past you've talked about soft targets, you know. Would you class commuter trains in that category? And then if so, what do you think can be done to make trains safer without disrupting journeys for millions of people? What's your take there?
Wow, that's quite a question, Leah. So in the first instance is yes. I mean, when you consider the only other similar public transport environment that could compare to a train would be an aeroplane. And at aeroplanes, you have to go through security before you get on it. On trains, you don't. Now, obviously, installing security measures at every single station would be impossible. But one of the things that the railway operators, I think, need to start thinking about is they've downscaled the number of personnel that they have on trains. There were times where there were train guards that would move up and down the train, obviously, ensuring that people had not only paid for their ticket, but people were safe. And I think the railway operators now have to look at how they can bolster some levels of reassurance, because as we saw in the wake of 7/7, many people who used the London Underground were very, very hesitant to do so for many weeks, if not months afterwards. So for the railway operators, even on an economic and commercial level, it stands in their benefit to reassure their passengers that they will be addressing security and safety in a better way.
Will, can you talk to us a bit about the investigation, what will be happening in the hours to come? We know that the train is still in the station in Huntington in Cambridge. What will be happening? What will police be looking out for? What do they need from the public also?
Well, as you can imagine, many, many different strands. There's going to be obviously the interviews with other passengers that weren't harmed. There are going to be the interviews of those passengers that were harmed, but are able to communicate. And that may not be for some time. As we understand, 9 are very critically injured. But the most important and beneficial aspect is the fact that they have 2 suspects in custody. Now, even if these individuals may not necessarily be forthcoming with any information and giving no comments, inevitably their details will be passed into the system, especially with our domestic intelligence agency, MI5, who will be looking as to whether they are already on their radar. Are they individuals that could be attributed to some kind of terrorism, for example? In addition to that, the officers will be visiting their homes, talking to their neighbors, their close friends, their associates who they work with, as well as looking at their digital footprint to get as much information as possible to confirm and to identify, obviously, what the motivation was behind this.
OK, really interesting to talk to you this morning. That's Will Geedy's a security specialist. Well, earlier I spoke to the MP for Huntington, Ben Obese-Jekte, who he described how the stabbing has hit close to home with many local victims.
Coming back to the scene this morning, I was here till the early hours of last night, and coming back in this morning, the train still in the station. It really hammers home what a terrible incident has occurred right here in this constituency. So my thoughts are with all of the victims, and I know there are some seriously injured individuals off the back of this, and I'm just looking to get more information and looking to reassure local residents that the situation was brought under control last night.
Can you take us back to the scene last night when you arrived? What was it like?
I arrived here shortly after 9 p.m. and by that point there was a phenomenal police presence here and emergency services. There must have been 20 or 30 police cars, multiple fire engines, and obviously around 10 ambulances. The police response was incredible. I went and met with the chief constable around midnight last night, and he was able to update me on the police response. The first officers on the scene were actually local response officers, so the officers you would see in any high street on a Saturday night, and they were the first on the scene, and they were quickly followed by armed police, and that response was rapid. Incredible response from them, and I doff my cap to those brave officers who came to try and neutralise that threat. The overall response from officers has been incredible, though, and the way that the agencies are working together, or worked together last night to bring the situation under control was fantastic. Speaking to the chief constable, he actually said that they were training for an Operation Plato incident only last week, so fresh in the memory, and it's terrible that they would have had to bring those skills into effect so quickly.
We know that the attacks happened after the train left Peterborough. What more have you learned from the police about how the events unfolded?
I think it's still too early to know how the events unfolded. I've not spoken to anyone from British Transport Police yet who have primacy in this incident. I've only spoken to Cambridgeshire Constabulary, who obviously are providing local resource and supporting BTP in their investigation. But I know that the journey from Peterborough to Huntington is around 14 minutes. And so at whatever point the attack started on that stretch of the train line would have been a truly awful incident for all those involved. And we've heard the eyewitness accounts. That's as much as I'm aware of what actually took place on the train, but thankfully the police were here once the train reached the station, and as I believe your reporter has spoken about earlier, the train wasn't able to stop any quicker than that. If you stop it obviously between stations in the night, people can't disembark from the train and get out of harm's way. So incredibly challenging situation to bring the train into the station and for people to be able to make their escape.
And just at this stage, what are you hearing about the condition of those injured and also the support offered to victims and their families?
I know that there were 10 casualties, 9 of which are life-threatening, which is a terrible, terrible situation to be in. Where Huntington Station is actually only a couple of minutes from both Hinchinbrook Hospital, which is a major hospital, and also Cambridgeshire Police Headquarters. So the emergency services response was incredibly rapid. With regards to what support's being given to individuals who were on the train, I know that the people who were taken off the train were taken to a local centre to be able to process them and give them the support that they needed. So those plans were in place, and that's incredibly important. I don't know anything more about the current medical condition of the victims, and I wouldn't want to speculate on that.
Of course, and as you mentioned at the top of this conversation, Huntington woke up to cordons, of course, delays, and also just shock this morning. How is the community reacting?
I think it's exactly as you said. It is shock. This is not a part of the world where incidents like this happen at all, and certainly don't happen regularly. And so to see a major incident of this nature is something that is really put everybody, set everybody back. And I think my role in this position is to reassure the local community and offer support to those people who've been affected.
And just finally, as someone, you know, who represents the area, was there last night, how did it feel witnessing such a tragic event unfold so close to home?
I think it makes you realise how lucky we are most of the time, and how something so tragic can affect any part of the country. And I think everybody needs to be vigilant and to be mindful of the threats that are out there. But I think also people need to keep cool heads at this time. I've seen an awful lot of speculation online and a lot of misinformation, and I think it's important that people take a step back and think about this before they do anything or say anything that might inflame the situation.
Well, there's been plenty of reaction to the stabbing from political leaders. Let me take you through some of them, and we'll start with the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. He said the appalling incident on a train near Huntingdon is deeply concerning. He goes on to say, my thoughts are with all those affected, and my thanks go to the emergency services for their response. That's the Prime Minister. The Home Secretary has also reacted, saying this: I'm deeply saddened to hear about the stabbings in Huntingdon. My thoughts go out to all of those affected. 2 suspects have been immediately arrested and taken into custody. I'm receiving regular updates on the investigation. She goes on to say, I urge people to avoid comment and speculation at this early stage. Meanwhile, the leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, said this: deeply disturbed by the reports emerging from Huntingdon. This is an absolutely horrific attack, and my thoughts are with all of those affected, including the emergency responders at the scene. That's from Kemi Badenoch. Well, this is the live scene. As you can see, the train in which those stabbings happened is still parked at the platform. There is an investigation ongoing. We will hear from police sometime between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock this morning. 10 people have been taken to hospital, 9 of which are in a life-threatening condition. More from Sky after this short break.
I saw police being forceful, pushing young men and women to the ground as they made almost 100 arrests. Will the cold affect your voters?
Well, we have a lot of tremendous support.
What country are you
From the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Los Angeles.
London Bridge, Southport, Heaton Park, Manchester. And now another place name on the roll call of unprovoked knife attacks on ordinary people going about their business. Huntingdon. As we come on air, 9 people are fighting for their lives after a savage assault on travellers on a train heading for London. 2 individuals are in police custody. We know nothing of their identities or their motives, but we'll be keeping you up to date during the programme. Later, I'll be talking to the Defence Secretary, the chairman of the Conservative Party, and the man who changed the way we report on the royals, Andrew Morton, author of Diana, Her True Story. But first, let's find out the latest from the horror in Huntingdon. Our correspondent is live at the scene in Huntingdon. Ollie, what's the latest that we know this morning?
Well, Trevor, this investigation is continuing here at Huntingdon train station. The police behind me are continuing their searches of the train. We've seen officers in the car park, and we know that they will be trying to get as much information from on board, be that forensic information or the CCTV of everything that unfolded, because when this train departed from Doncaster at 6:25 yesterday evening, the passengers on board will have had no idea of the events that were about to unfold an hour later. Most of them, we've heard, were sitting down, just enjoying that journey. Some of them, as is often the case when you're on a train, had their headphones in, listening to music or watching something on their phone, only then to see passengers streaming past them in the aisle. And as one man took his headphones off, he heard them say that somebody has a knife, and that person was then walking through the train carriages indiscriminately, stabbing people, it seems at random, causing chaos and panic, people trying to get away as fast as they can. There was jostling, people had been caught underfoot is what we'd heard, and others locked themselves in a toilet. One eyewitness is said to have said that people were saying, "I love you." There was another person who said that there was blood everywhere in the train. So this will have been an absolutely horrific incident that was unfolding between Peterborough train station and Huntingdon train station. And although the alarm was raised with the train driver, that person could not do anything apart from get the train to the nearest safe point, which happened to be here at Huntingdon train station, which also luckily happens to be right next to Cambridgeshire Police headquarters. Now, the train driver alerting the authorities, Cambridgeshire Police, the local ambulance service and British Transport Police, who were able to rapidly get a team here. And we saw just how many emergency services were in the car park here waiting for that train to arrive. Armed police officers then running down the station platform, declaring Plato, which is the code word used whenever there is believed to be a marauding terrorist attack. Now, this has not been declared an official terrorism incident so far. Counter-terrorism police are investigating. That Plato declaration was later rescinded. But for everybody who was on board this train, there is no doubt that this was a terrifying incident. We heard from another eyewitness that spoke to Sky News how the suspect, or one of the suspects in this case, had been tasered by police officers, and then everybody who was on board the train taken off. People were interviewed. Those who needed medical assistance were treated at the scene as best as they could. 10 people taken to hospital. 9 of them have got life-threatening condition. All the while, this train line remains suspended with huge delays expected across the LNER network between here and London throughout the rest of the day.
Ollie, thanks for that. We'll no doubt be coming back to you during the morning. Let's get some immediate reaction to events in Huntingdon, the ongoing investigation now in place, from our panel. The editor of The Spectator and the former Secretary of State, Michael Gove, Financial Times columnist, Miranda Green, and editor-at-large of The New Statesman and LBC presenter, Andrew Marr. Miranda, this is grim, isn't it?
It is grim, and actually looking at those pictures from your correspondent, it's the very ordinariness of the scene that makes it so shocking, isn't it? We have had attacks of various sorts on transport networks in the past, both, terrorist incidents, but also, people with very serious psychotic conditions. laying into ordinary members of the public, and it's extremely disturbing. I mean, the Home Secretary has urged everyone not to speculate, and we don't know very much at the moment. So we should be obviously careful what we assume, but it's very, very upsetting.
Michael?
People will be waking up this morning thinking, it could have been me. This was a standard train journey, exactly as Miranda says. The circumstances are ones with which anyone can identify. And the horror, as brought out by Ollie, of sitting there on the train, headphones on, reading your copy of the New Statesman, the FT, whatever, and then suddenly seeing someone run past you, screaming because there's been a knife attack, knowing that you're in an enclosed space. That's something with which all of us can identify. It's the stuff of nightmares. And again, as you and Miranda have pointed out, inevitably people will speculate. How could this have happened? What was the motivation? What sort of madness was driving someone to do this? And as you've pointed out, given that 2 people were arrested, that will inevitably provoke additional speculation, because they might think, well, it can't have been a lone lunatic. But we don't know at this stage. It may be that 2 were arrested, but only 1 may be charged or prosecuted. So at this stage, we do have to exercise care.
We have to be absolutely very, very careful. Michael's quite right there. It's either madness, or what we now call mental health, or it's terrorism. Everyone will want to know which. I would say the only other thing is that it would be absolutely lethal for the police to try to hide anything that they know at this stage. The country is already very, very suspicious, and the police will have to act very fast this morning.
OK, well, hopefully we will get to know more while we're on air, but let's get some more reaction, this time from the government. Just a few moments ago, I spoke to the Defence Secretary. John Healey, what do we know about this dreadful incident at Huntingdon?
Well, the facts are still emerging overnight. My team's been in close contact with the Home Office team. This is close to home. This was the very service that my wife and I, Jackie, took just a few hours before this attack. It's the service I use every week to get home to Rotherham. So I can't begin to imagine how shocked and frightened those passengers were, and a huge tribute to those passengers and the emergency services for their response, because it could have been so much worse. But we know that 10 people are in hospital, 9 are very seriously injured with potentially life-threatening conditions. And we know the police are investigating, supported by the counter-terrorism police. And we need to avoid speculation. We need to let them get on and do that job. And make no mistake, the Home Secretary will update the public just as soon as we have any further facts, and the police will do the same.
Well, I know that we are enjoined, I think it's the right thing, not to speculate. But with the fact that there are 2 arrests rather than a lone person, the fact that this resembles some other things that have happened in the past, and the fact that the counter-terrorism police are involved, suggests at least that still the possibility that this is a terrorist attack is still open. Is that right?
Well, those are all suppositions. The early assessment is that this was an isolated incident, an isolated attack. So there's no reason for the rest of us not to get on with our lives, get on and travel to the places we need to get to. But those sorts of conclusions, those firmer assessments and that information will be provided to the public as soon as we've got them.
That's true, but is this affecting the security alert status at all?
No, the threat is substantial. It reflects a period of really increasing pressure on our country and uncertainty more widely in the world, a new era of threat, if you like. It's why, for me, the new era for defence that we're leading as a new government is so important. It's part of making sure that we are in a Britain that is safe at home, strong abroad. And our defence services and our intelligence agencies do a remarkable job that the public often just never see or hear about to keep us safe.
This is an important point, isn't it? That we are in this era of uncertainty, but I think that in the past we've tended to think that that uncertainty plays itself out somewhere else. But it is now